to get by Benning. Darnell Nurse left it in the corner, gets up center. Perry scores! Corey Perry!
Ilya able to shake away from Solani. It's given away to Solani around in front. Score! Teemu Solani with the steal.
Perry in the face, 1-1. Score! Off the floor! On the board! Paul Kariya!
That loud right now, and it's like a mile away.
Yeah.
There's no possible way.
I live right by the highway, so it's ripping it. And
Do
like
you
I
know how far a mile is?
Yeah. It's like 2 or 3 kilometers, isn't it?
I think that's right.
I think that's right. I think it's right. I can't do my
How long does
Celsius
it
to
take
Fahrenheit,
you to drive from your driveway to the highway?
2 minutes.
Okay.
If I could drive across the grass, like straight, like 30 seconds to a minute.
All right, that's fine.
Yeah.
That was so loud, Eddie.
No, I know.
It like the idea that wasn't right out front is insane to me right now.
Yeah, no,
That sounded like it was like in the room next to you.
I would hope not, man. This is a school zone. I don't know.
Oh. So I guess the important question to ask here is, what happens if the Stars fuck this up?
I mean,
Are the Oilers good enough to genuinely push Florida? Because I think they're good enough to beat the Islanders or the Rangers.
I think they're good enough to beat anybody who's left. Like, I think all 4 teams that are left have a reason to be there, and I understand like the shtick with the Oilers and their defense and everything. But listen, they've been good enough to make it here, and they've been good enough to push every team that, including the Stars right now. If they win this game, they'll be tied at 2. I would say these were the 4 best teams so far. It sounds stupid to say that because obviously they have been, and they're the 4 teams left. But like I understand we've all been rightfully critical of the Oilers over the past few years and not being able to get it done, and having McDavid and 2 of the best players in the NHL, but they don't have anything else. But I feel like they finally got some decent goaltending, right? Like they've figured it out to some extent. The defense has been significantly better. Evan Bouchard on the back end is an unbelievable hit for them to be able to get that guy to go along with McDavid and Draisaitl, and then the core that they built around this team, the guys that they brought in. I think they got a shot, man. I honestly really, really hope that this is not another Corey Perry makes it to the finals and loses type situation. Like, I'm gonna feel so bad
if it comes
for
to
that
that,
guy,
I am.
man. You don't want the Oilers to win?
No.
Like, neither do I, but like I also don't
Absolutely
really,
not.
I don't
Absolutely
really care.
not. No, I am heavily invested in them not winning.
Fair.
Like, okay, so Steve Dangle, who seems like a sweet enough fellow, posted a tweet that someone dropped into the Slack, and I saw it. And it said basically like he's been doing a bunch of research about like how we talk about players' legacy, because I guess he's working on a book or something. Mm-hmm. And he says he thinks hockey needs McDavid to have a cup ring. And I get what he means by that it only takes one ring to cement yourself as one of the greats. Like, Ovechkin,
they just mean they need
one.
like the best player in the league needs to have a Stanley Cup, that type of thing?
I think it's that, but I also think like
presumably the rest of them do at the top, barring
here's the
like
thing.
guys like Matthews, right? So
if Paul Kariya or Joe Thornton or Jerome McGinley have a cup ring, they are probably closer to the 15 to 20th range of best players of all time than where I would say they are now, which is in the low 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it makes a difference. I think you can argue,
yeah,
maybe Paul Kariya had the because his career was the shortest of all three of those, you can argue he's closer into that mid-40s range.
Did Jumbo ever come as close? Because Paul and Iggy came close. Like Game 7 Stanley Cup final close, right? Joe
made a Stanley Cup final with San Jose when they lost to Pittsburgh. Because Pittsburgh beat the Sharks and...
But they beat them in like 5 or 6, right?
And the Predators?
I don't remember that series. That series didn't go 7, Penguins and Sharks. I mean, he still made it to the final, right? Within a series of getting there. So, I mean, these guys were close. But I guess, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, when you're talking about all-time best, even when you're talking about the greatest of all time, in any sport, it comes down to, okay, individual stats and everything, but then what did they win? How many championships did they win?
Right, but the thing with hockey is hockey doesn't seem to be a sport where you have to have multiple.
No, I think we're splitting hairs.
People are like, the difference between 1 and 2 is much more important.
Yeah, I think when you're splitting hairs in any sport, and hockey less so, but still, if you're deciding between one player or another and it's fairly close, that's when you start getting into, okay, well, did individual awards, did they win the Hart, did they win the Norris, did they win this, and then did they win a Stanley Cup, or how many Stanley Cups did they win? So I think that does make a difference. In it doesn't vault a guy up 10 spots, but it can make the difference.
I think it can, depending on who the guy is.
Yeah, I guess depending on how close.
Dude, are you again? Like, I really do think if Joe Thornton has a ring, most people are like, Joe Thornton should probably be higher in the greatest of all time conversation.
I could see it. I
honestly feel like 10 center, but he's probably pretty close to a top 10 center if you go from, basically from Gretzky's rookie year on.
You know what? For me, there you go. There's a good one. It sounds like it's right up one of my L's. I think I honestly forget what I was gonna say now.
Like, how much different do people think of Jeremy Roenick if he has a cup ring, right?
Oh, okay. So as you say, I feel like longevity sometimes hurts these guys. It can sometimes hurt these guys. I feel like Yager, I feel like Joe, and the guys that stuck around. I don't want to say too long, because I think Joe and Yager were still good players before they left. But you take the shine off the prime almost, and it becomes a lot of recency bias, and you remember him for the last 5-10 years of their career where they weren't, a top 5 or top 10 player in the league. I feel like that hurts them a bit. It obviously pads the stats, and that helps when you're looking on paper, but when you're remembering the guy,
right,
it makes it a little harder to remember their prime. And obviously, again, that's not the same for everybody. I think that I can be impacted by that sometimes when I'm trying to compare guys, and I'm like, I'm remembering Joe Thornton, and what comes to mind is like late San Jose days rather than early Sharks days and days, right, where he was in his heyday, one of the best players in the league. So I think that hurts these guys sometimes, as well as not winning a Stanley Cup or as many individual awards as some others. Is you've kind of you stuck it out a little bit too long.
Sure.
Where you saw a little bit of that shine wash off.
Yeah, I think that's true. But I think, or yes, I agree with you. It's not a but like I keep saying but. That's funny.
Yeah, you do that. I'm gonna close my window.
As far as like winning the cup and the difference it makes for your legacy, like all that kind of stuff, I get the point that he was making. But I honestly think the best thing for hockey would be McDavid never winning a Stanley Cup. Because I think he becomes the best player to never win a Stanley Cup. And it forces everyone to reframe the conversation and about how much of a difference does having a ring versus not having a ring really make a difference, considering, that, we're seeing someone like McDavid putting up, mid-80s numbers, and he still hasn't even made the Stanley Cup final. It's just so much dependent on the team, and I think that is an important conversation. And I think, personally, I think McDavid is a great candidate because I think his highlights are so undeniable. He's so good. But the other thing that happens if that happens is Draisaitl doesn't win a cup, and I fucking hate that guy. So if he doesn't win and McDavid changes the conversation,
so
it's actually perfect. So I'm just saying, I get the point that Dangle was making, but I really do think McDavid should be the one to change the way we talk about this stuff, and that Draisaitl does not deserve to ever win a ring, literally ever. Just fuck him.
I do think Dallas pulls this out over 7 games. I think Edmonton is obviously good enough to push them, but I think eventually we see, and what would be probably an ideal final for me is Dallas, New York. I think that's the best final we can get in terms of watchability and two just stacked, deep teams going at it. That would be my ideal final. I wouldn't care who'd win that either. I'm down for either team to win, whether it's New York or Dallas. Florida and Edmonton, I don't hate it if they win. I'm just not really all for it. I'd love to see Matthew Tkachuk win a Stanley Cup, but and Barkov. But ultimately, I think for me, the best watchable final is Dallas and New York. I just think that would be just a ton of fun to watch.
Oh, man. Okay, so real quick, how many players do you think are like Joe Pavelski, who hanging around for an extra 5 years has actually improved their legacy?
Oh, man.
How many other players can you even possibly think of?
I mean, like, it's I think Ovi for sure, and it's only because he's chasing he's still getting it done, and he's chasing Gretzky's goal record, right? So he could tail off and score 20 next year, and it will never tarnish him because he's going for that record, right? So
Sure.
Yeah, you'll remember him for sticking it out and going, because I think honestly he retires once he hits it. I think he's done when he hits. He'll get 900. Yeah. And then he'll finish, and if he does, I don't know I think he needs like 40 plus to do it next year, so he'll probably do it over 2 seasons unless he pops off next year, and then I think he's done. But I'm trying to think of other guys, like even for us, like Timo and Getzlaf, it's not, they tailed off. Do you have anybody? Like, I'm trying to think of anybody.
So he needs 41 goals to tie Gretzky, 42 to pass, obviously.
Yeah.
And 47
to get 900.
To hit 900.
Yeah, so it'd be really, really cool if he hit 50 next year. And then
what's crazy? Okay. Okay. Which is bigger? The gap between 2 and 3 or 3 and 4?
So is that Howe and
Howe is
Howe and Ovi, and then who's 4? It's not Bossy, right? He wouldn't be. Is he Bossy?
Nope.
He didn't play enough to get there. He's goals per game.
It's someone you've already mentioned, Jaromir Jagr.
Jagr, okay. I think there's a bigger gap between 2 or 3 and 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a bigger gap between 2 and 3. 3 and 4.
Now, do you think there's a bigger gap between 3 and 4 or 1 and 2?
3 and 4. I think there's more than a 40-plus goal gap between 3 and 4.
So the gap between 2 and 3 is 52.
Okay.
Gordie Howe has 801.
Okay.
Jagr has 766. So that gap is at 35.
Damn.
Mm-hmm. How many players have 700 goals?
9?
Close. 8.
Fuck. I was trying to remember who.
How many players have 600 goals? And it's a round number.
20.
Correct. Who is 21? Active player.
Malkin?
Mm-mm. Crosby.
Oh, is
Crosby's
Malkin on
9. Malkin.
He's got to be somewhere close, right?
Please hold.
He's got to be he's not in the 600s?
No, Evgeny Malkin is at 498.
Wow. Damn. What's off on that? Sid makes sense.
There's
though.
only
I can't believe there
are only
that
2
team
active players in the 500s.
Discounted Sid. That's a bad take now, looking back at it. I went to the Penguins and skipped over Sid and went to Malkin.
Dude, there's only 2 active players who have more than 500 goals. It's not Ovi.
Sid and...
Don't overthink it.
I am overthinking it.
Just think of goal scorers, man.
I'm thinking of goal scorers, and no shot. I don't know.
Steven Stamkos,
Really?
555.
I feel, yeah. I mean,
One behind Johnny Buchek.
It's thinking of the Lightning and thinking of like 3 players now in front of him. I think that's the problem, right? He just doesn't pop to mind anymore.
Yeah, Mike Modano. No, thank you.
Your fave.
Yeah, he's my buddy. I don't even know why I don't like him, but I can't stand him. Zach Parise is 78th in goals. That's crazy.
Yeah, he was.
Brad Marchand is 109. All right, this isn't what we wanted to do,
No.
but this is what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, we have lots to get into.
Yeah, Leon Draisaitl. Oh, David Pastrnak has one more goal than Leon Draisaitl does. David Pastrnak is the greatest hockey player ever.
I mean, a World Cup, World Championship gold medalist, David Pastrnak.
That's right. Speaking of the World Championships, Edward, a couple of Ducks were there and had some
Was Gudas
notable...
part of that Czech
He was. He was an alternate captain.
Yes. Let's go. And
Because he is a
obviously not
leader in the
one
homeland.
not the one you're talking about. But Lucas Dostal was the starting goaltender for the Czech Republic. 6-2-0, 2 shutouts, a 940 plus save percentage, I think, and then in
Pull it up.
Chadwick. Cam Robinson had a good summary of it that I sent you. I'm pretty sure.
I gotta find that one. Let's see
There's
here.
too many cap friendly posts to go through here.
Stop it. I mean, there's already way too many of my stupid cap friendly.
Lucas Dostal's gold medal performance at the World, 6-2-0 record, a 939 save percentage, 2 shutouts in the medal rounds, and in those medal rounds, he had a .971 save percentage. That's insane. Shutout in the gold medal game, by the way.
How do you have 2 shutouts and not a 1,000% save percentage?
That's, I think, over 3 games. So, quarters, semis, finals.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Goaltender of the
Egg on my
tournament
face.
as well for him. Unbelievable. And, like, listen, I hate on the Worlds for good reason at times, but there is still solid competition there, despite the fact that the final was the Czech Republic and the Swiss. But
I mean, I would argue that you could make the argument that is showing that the sport is growing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That not Sweden, Finland,
Yeah.
Canada, United States, none of them.
It's a great tournament for those other countries where they can almost bring a full roster because their leagues have ended and they get a lot of talent that comes over from their home leagues, whereas Canada and the US, either their players don't show up for the World Championship or they're in the playoffs already. So I think it's great to showcase those teams. So it's great in the sense that you see Switzerland, an almost full strength Switzerland team. Kevin Fiala was the MVP of the tournament, and Yossi was there, and I think Nico was there. I don't know. I didn't check the roster, but almost a full strength Swiss team and almost a full strength Czech team that make the finals. I think Sweden was the bronze medal game. Sweden ended up winning bronze. Mid strength teams for both Sweden, for Canada, for the US, for Finland. But man, it was a tournament and a half for Lucas Dostal, and that. I don't think it was an easy decision for the Ducks going into the offseason anyway. I mean, they could still come into next season with Dostal and Gibson, but it definitely adds some fuel to the fire on what you're going to do. Like, are you going to move John Gibson now? Because Lucas Dostal had a great season, a great end to the season, then all of a sudden he goes off and does this at the World Championships. It definitely adds to his stock, and it makes the decision a tricky one on whether you're going to move John Gibson or not.
So, I guess, okay, the first thing I want to say is I think that fans of NHL teams should view the World Championships the way Americans view World Juniors, which is it only counts if one of your guys does something good.
Fair.
Like, I don't even know who wins World Juniors. It's a fake tournament. It doesn't exist. I do know Trevor Zegras has a gold.
Yeah.
Like, that is a thing that
So does
did
Mason
happen.
McTavish.
I don't know what you're talking about. And to that thing, anytime you get someone like Luke Stossel balling out, that rocks. That's great. Do I care even a little bit that Zegras went and was awful? No, I really don't. I really don't fucking care. Seems like him and Cole Caulfield had a great time drinking wine in Europe, hanging out. And as far as I'm concerned, A+, young man. Have yourself a summer.
I feel like that's what bothers me a bit about these tournaments, because I know it means a lot to, especially the home countries too. Like, it was in the Czech Republic. It means a lot to the European countries.
Prague's one of the coolest cities in the world. Everybody should go.
Yeah, it means a lot to those teams, and then you get the Canada and the U.S. who come out, and like I'm not saying the players don't treat it properly, but it doesn't mean as much to them, right?
No.
They come out, they're there to play for their country, and some are there to play for their country because they don't normally get the opportunity to play for their country. Some are just looking to play more hockey. Some are looking, like you said, to maybe just go to the Czech Republic and have a good time and an early start to their summer.
Rock on.
It's just tough that way. Like, that tournament doesn't mean as much to them, and it would be kind of cool just to have like a Euros tournament replace it, and just say Canada and the U.S., you can just kick rocks and not come to this tournament.
100%, dude. That would rip so hard. I would be such a huge fan if they told them to go fuck themselves. That would rock. Just a European championship would rock.
I think it would be better, because
it would 100% be better.
Again, you're only missing a few players for whoever would be like who's on the who could have gone to, of the 4 teams remaining, who could have gone. Like, I don't think we're missing, like, maybe Draisaitl for Germany.
You've got Hintz is Czech.
He's Finnish.
Or Finnish.
Hintz, yeah.
Faxa, I think, is Slovakian.
I think he's Czech. I think Faxa's Czech. Yeah.
We're going
but like the European guys,
teams.
Barkov for sure. Yeah. We would have been there. But there's a handful of them, I think, is the point we're trying to get across. There's a lot of Russians on both these teams, but they're not even there.
Fax is Czech.
Yeah.
Niels Lundqvist, Esa Lindell, Fredrik Karlsson, Hintz, Niskanen, Hakkinen. Leon Bichel technically probably would have made the Swiss team.
Yeah. So you're missing some of them, but again, all the guys who seemingly, like, even from like Pasternak, he didn't have to go. He had a longish playoff run with Boston. He didn't have to go, but it's in his home country, and he went. And I think even if it wasn't in his home country, he still would have went. Like, they seem to care more about playing for their country for these tournaments.
I think if you were from one of the non-Power 5 teams, right? Russia, Canada, the United States, Sweden, Finland.
I think even Sweden, Finland do show up and they care.
I'm not saying that you don't. Sorry.
But it's less of a thing. Yeah.
I think if you're from a non-Power 5 country, I think it matters for your legacy.
Yep. Yeah.
I think it can absolutely be like, Tim Stützle was the player of the tournament at the 2022 IIHF, or 2029 IIHF International Tournament, because the Senators went another 10 years without making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Okay, so like Brady Tkachuk was the captain for the United States, and like my very dumb joke was, it's important to pick someone who's going to be able to be there year after year. Because in what world is Brady Tkachuk a captain for an American national team?
No.
That's insane. But hey, he's going to be there every year. So
if it was the same tournament, but they called it like the European Hockey Championships, would you not watch that? Like, something about it. Like, there's no difference. Just no Canada and the U.S. For some reason, I feel like I'd be more inclined to just watch it.
100%.
I feel like it'd mean more for the whoever wins it. Like, it's the Euros essentially, and just don't even make it every 2 years or something, and have it mean 100%. More. I'd be down for that. That would be so much better.
I mean, I think that goes against my personal opinion about international hockey, which is we should de-emphasize the Olympics, and there should be an actual hockey World Cup that is only once every few years.
Oh, I 100% agree with that.
And that should be the predominant international hockey tournament. But I also understand that ever since the Olympics started accepting pros, that has become the place for hockey players where they want to go. and it means something special. Also, probably doesn't hurt that ice hockey is closer to one of the premier events at the Winter Olympics because it is so much smaller and it's a little niche. Like, again, one of them is skiing and shooting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the difference between the skeleton and the bobsled and the luge and all that. Like, I don't care. But I would love. But okay. Anyways, the Olympics is the one that matters. So, given that is the world we live in, I would love to see the World Championships become the European Championship. That would rock.
This would be my ideal situation if it was Summer Olympic season. So like this year, it would turn into European Hockey Championships.
100%.
That's every 4 it'd be every 4 years. Just do it every 4 years.
Yep.
So then every offsetting 2 years, you've got the Winter Olympics, and you've got do the Winter Olympics, which would be ideally amateurs.
I agree, 100%.
January, February time usually, and then right before the season starts, like September, we do World Cup of Hockey. So they're in the same year. You get World Cup of Hockey in September. You get Winter Olympics in January, and then every 2 years, like the offsetting 2 years, you get the European Hockey Championship. So
honestly, I would rather have it be a 3-year cycle with a year off in between.
Where you just have the problem is you have to work around the Olympics, the Winter Olympic schedule. That's the thing. So you have to, because that's never changing.
If you did European Championships, then you did the Olympics, and then you did the World Cup,
and then it's just a year off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the thing for me about that, I think we should use the Olympics for, and we've probably talked about this. I've been doing this podcast long enough that it's absolutely come up. I think that the Winter Olympics should be used for myth making. How many hockey fans, to your point, know about Mason McTavish's World Juniors save?
Everybody in Canada, but
outside of that, how many do you think? Like, you know what I mean? I don't think the average. Much. If that happened at the Olympics,
it would.
Everybody knows that.
Bobby McMahon from Denver College made a save off the line. That's a household name.
Exactly, but that's the thing for me is like I think what we should be doing is using the Olympics to build up the amateur players, increase the hype going into the draft because some of these guys are going to be draft eligible guys. Some of them are going to be guys that have already been drafted. And then this following summer, you know that kid who had that dope play at the Olympics? He's actually on the U.S. national team for the World Cup this year. He's made the jump.
Yeah.
So now we've got like characters returning, right? If you want to think about it like narratively and stuff like that.
Yep.
Like I just think if we're trying to build out the engaging culture of hockey, having the Olympics be where we create potential superstars and the World Cup be where guys make their bones as international players is so much cooler.
So make hockey more like soccer. Okay, got it.
Yeah, in some ways, man.
In a sense.
In 100%, yeah.
It is
because the Olympics are what, U23 for?
Yeah, you can bring like 3 players over under 20 over 23. But then it's
Brazil bring like Ronaldinho one year.
I know they brought Neymar one year. So
that rocks.
They bring the big names because they want to win, right? They want to show out and win because.
Like imagine if it's World Juniors and you show up or like it's the Olympics and it might as well be World Juniors, right? Because it's the U21 or something. So you show up and then Sweden was like, oh yeah, we also brought 29-year-old Henrik Lundqvist. He's our goalie. All of you 17-year-old kids, you have to play 29-year-old Henrik Lundqvist.
Russia rolls out there with OV and Shesterkin.
Right.
Good luck, guys. Oh man, yeah,
Alexei Kovalev right now, and he would still destroy in that tournament.
We've used this phrase every now and then for a lot of things where people should hire us, but the IIHF should just hire us at this point.
We're very smart,
and we'd fix international hockey for everybody. So,
hey man, I love hockey. I want more people to enjoy it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, speaking of enjoying hockey, did you enjoy the draft lottery?
No, because nothing happened.
Which, honestly...
I was fine with.
I was fine with it, yeah.
Absolutely no problem. I think somebody pointed out it's only like the first time in 20 years or second time in 20 years that's happened.
Yeah,
I definitely think it's fun when it's a rare occurrence. And statistically, it's almost impossible for it to happen.
I start to hate the draft lottery because of talk about it being rigged. Because Bucci put out a tweet before the game, and it was like a screenshot of their studio, and they had clearly just done a run through to test it out, just sort of like a tankathon calculate. I think Utah had won or something like that. Chicago and Utah or something like that. Some combination like that had won. It was on it. Like he wouldn't take it wasn't like it was hiding in the background. It was like 2/3 of the picture was this screen. People were like, "Oh, he didn't mean to post that. This is the results tonight. If it shows up like this tonight, it's rigged." And I was like, you know what? Part of me wants these to be the actual results when it happens tonight, just so like this narrative continues on, and I can see that like weed out the dumb people from the smart people. But man, I am kind of glad it didn't happen because I just that would have been too much to handle. Like conspiracy theorists would have went nuts with that. So I am kind of glad in that sense it was the most boring outcome, because I was sitting there after we got revealed at 3 and it was Chicago and San Jose, and like if Chicago wins this again, like people are gonna snap.
They're gonna lose their minds.
And it's not even a Bedard draft. Like I like Macklin Celebrini. I do think he's the number one pick by far in this draft, but like it's not a Bedard draft, and people still would have went crazy.
Because here's what it is Macklin Celebrini becomes Malkin, who is a guy in and of his own right who is capable of being a number one center on a team. Again, potentially, right? This is what you're looking at, is the word nightmare scenario. You're like, oh yeah, this guy who could absolutely be the number one center on a team, could be a good, the best player on a contending team, blah, blah, blah. Oh, he goes to this place where he's actually going to play behind a generational potential player, and it's going to be perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I don't.
And because his style is so much different, like, you know what I mean? He plays with a bigger body. He plays a more responsible 200-foot game and stuff like that, which isn't to say Bedard's not those things, but Bedard is a smaller, faster skill guy. That's just what he is.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Bedard's more like Nathan McKinnon in that sense, where he's not terrible defensively, but he's not known for that. So.
Yeah.
So nothing changes. We get San Jose at 1, which, listen, I don't want the Sharks to do well, but if any team deserved to have a number one pick this year, it was the Sharks.
I hate that fucking term. I hate it so much.
Deserves? You hate deserves?
I hate it. I hate it, especially in a draft lottery where the people who have the most deserving interests are screwed.
Yeah.
The idea that teams deserve things, and hearing... Again, I think it's just really gross hearing fans say, my team deserves this because we were bad this year.
Yeah.
Sounds like you don't deserve fucking shit. Sounds like you suck.
Phrase it this way. The worst team in the league got the first overall pick. The Sharks got the first overall pick. Chicago at 2. We're at 3. Columbus at 4. Montreal at 5. And then so on from there. Now, we know Macklin Celebrini is going to be a Shark. There's no way they don't do that. It gets interesting from there, from probably 2 to 6. I would say maybe 2 to 7. And then it kind of, where there's about 5 to 6 names that could go from there. If we're going to break it down, you've got Ivan Demidov who could go, Artem Levshunov could go, Anton Silyalev could go, Caden Lindstrom, outside shots for guys like Cole Eiserman, Zeev Boynum, Zane Perrick, Sam Dickinson, your guy, Carter Yakemchuk. Those are all kind of options. Tidge Iginla, Jerome Iginla's son, maybe could sneak into the top 5 because he had a great performance. If you're Chicago at 2, who are you taking? Who are you adding to Connor Bedard? Because they have some good prospects, right? They have our boy, I'm trying to remember the defenseman that I wanted, and they drafted
Krasinski.
They've got Krasinski in the system. They've got Bedard.
They got Vlasic to a deal they just signed him to.
Lucas Reichel is coming up for them. Nazar just played the last few games of the season for them. So like, there's no pressing obvious need for them, right? Like, so you can go a lot of different ways here. I have no idea where they're gonna go. I think it's either gonna be one of the 3, I would say Russians, but Levshunov, I guess, is Belarusian. So Demidov, Lashunov, or Vasilyev, I think that's the way they would go.
I think if you're asking me, I think the three choices are Demidov, Levshunov, and Lindstrom.
Yep.
Because like we were just saying, with having a smaller skill guy.
A lot of smaller skill guys.
Well, yeah. No shit. Especially with Nazar.
Yeah.
Ooh, I adore my guy. I want us to take him.
Yeah.
But I think Caden Lindstrom has the potential to be the surprise pick, if anybody.
Yep. I mean, you can make a case for him going at any spot from 2 to 5, and why a team would like him. Like he's been earmarked for us at 3 just because of I love because Pat Verbeek said he wants a big physical team that's tough to play against. Like every big physical kid that is somewhere near the top 5 just automatically is going to our team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have drafted that way in Mason McTavish and Leo Carlson, whatever. But it's funny that they think that's all we're going to draft at that spot.
Right. Well, McTavish was a previous GM, and Leo Carlson wasn't drafted because of his size. He was drafted because of his play style, which meshes well with his size.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Also, Pat Verbeek was under them when they traded up and took Braden Point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Different things like that. Like
just one comment from Pat Verbeek, just everybody latches onto now as a reason why we're going to take him.
I think I think they should take a very strong look at Demidov. I think he's probably the choice because I think being able to have 2 dynamic offensive weapons is absolutely fucking vital.
Yeah. Demidov with Bedard together, their skill sets just mesh. Demidov's a really creative playmaking winger. Bedard's the shooter, driver of play, this goal scorer. You can see the fit there of where they go. Whereas with Caden Lindstrom and Bedard, you those are 2 separate lines. If Lindstrom is going to be a center, and it's still great. I mean, you get Lindstrom. I think at the end of the level
you can do the same thing with Demidov. There's no reason Demidov can't drive its own line.
Yeah, you don't have to put
no
them
reason
together.
He can't.
You just have the potential there.
Yes.
Of having them together. Now you don't have to. I think with Lindstrom is the hope he's a center. He's 6'4", 216 already. You would hope that he could be a dominant center. I think his best potential in the NHL is a real dominant two-way 2C. I don't really see him having the offensive potential to be a 1C, which is fine. So if you're Chicago, you draft to go Bedard Lindstrom and have a little bit of a different approach down the middle, which is great. It's a great thing to have. They don't have a lot of centers in their system, so
right. It's similar to what they were trying to do in Buffalo when they took Dylan Cousins after, I believe, Jack Eichel.
Yep.
Where what you're telling yourself is you're like, all right, we're going to get a bigger guy, plays a more physical style game. He's going to play here, blah 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 blah. Mm-hmm. Again, Nazar is a nasty little boy as far as being a tough competitor and playing bigger than his size. If you told me it was Bedard driving the first line and then Nazar and Demidov together on the second line, I'm into that. I'm really into that. I think there's a lot there to like. But I think the allure of a Lindstrom to go with him is very enticing.
So then for us at 3, is it as simple for you to say whatever one of those 2 they don't take, you take? Or do you then open the discussion to 2 defensemen we already mentioned here and say, well, the Ducks desperately need either a right shot defenseman or just another defenseman in the prospect pool after trading Jamie Drysdale for Cutter Gauthier, and you go that direction?
So I am not as much of a fan of Caden Lindstrom as other people are for the Ducks. Chad loves it. He thinks it's a great fit. I'm pretty sure Connor is a fan of Lindstrom just in what he can do and stuff like that from late arrivals. But I think for me, it comes down to Demidov, Levshunov, and Silev. And I personally would almost take Yakimchuk over Levshunov, But I also, you know that there are some right-handed defensemen later in the first round who Anaheim could either trade up to get or could take if they fall to that 29 pick
Yeah.
or wherever Edmonton ends up playing. But like, I think for me, it's between those three. I would probably lean Lebshinov.
What if Demidov is available? Does that make it any?
Look, man, as
More
someone who said
difficult?
the team should have taken Matvey Michkov last year, I have a really hard time sitting here and saying they shouldn't take Demidov.
Some people are saying Demidov is better.
Is better than Michkov.
Yeah.
Like, again, as someone who was adamant that Michkov was the second best player in the draft last year, I have a really hard time sitting here and not saying they should take Demidov at 3 if he's there. To me, it's between those three guys because they all fill like, I have no interest in Sam Dickinson.
No,
I
neither do
get
And
that he was very
big London Knights
productive.
guy, but I'm not a fan. At
It's-
that early,
it's-
I'm not a fan.
It's just the reason you take Silyev that early is because he's that big.
And he
That
can
is the
skate
thing that
that well,
makes
too.
him special.
Yeah.
Yes, is how skilled he is defensively at that size. And because he skates so well, his size becomes overwhelming.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in a 6'3". Let me say it this way. I don't fucking care about Jake Sanderson.
No.
I don't need Jake Sanderson on my team. Like, I don't need Jacob Slavin. If I get those guys later in the draft, beyond happy. Stoked. Very good players. I am not using a top 5 pick on Jake fucking Sanderson.
There's
It's not happening.
about 5 or 6 defensemen I would take over Sam Dickinson.
Yeah.
I'd take
And
Schoen-
you add in
Schoen-
the fact that he's a lefty. If he was a righty, we maybe have more of a conversation here.
Maybe, yeah.
Because you can go, oh, yeah, Dickinson Minchikov for the next 10 years. That's my top pair. I'm fine.
Mhm.
Right? But he's a lefty, and he's not special. To me, top 5 picks should have something special. I would rather miss aiming for special than being safe and reaching by 10 spots or 4 or 5 spots. So for me, it's Levshinov because of his offensive potential, the mean streak that he is said to have, the defensive ability we know he has, and it's just about engagement with him.
Mhm.
Demidov, or it's, Levshinov, who's a right-handed defenseman, fills an obvious hole, and the potential is so high, even if you are quote-unquote drafting for need, everybody needs talent, so you're not Silyev, because he's just fucking special. He's 6'7", he skates like he's 5'10", and he is an incredible defender. Or
He's the
Demidov,
Kristaps Porzingis of this draft.
yeah, except good.
Yeah. yeah. As long as he doesn't turn into Porzingis.
Yeah, or you take Demidov and you go Carlson, Terry, Cutter, Demidov is my core 4 forwards. McTavish, Zegras, we figure the rest of it out. Nathan Gaucher was someone they thought highly of. If he maybe has, you know what I mean? Like, you can go out in a trade, you can do this. There are different things you can do to ensure, but that becomes your 4. I don't know who else you take.
There's nobody there that I would put above those 3, because 1 or 2, if not all 3 of them, should be available, right? Because Celebrini is going 1, so 1 of them can get taken at Chicago. 2, the other 2 will be available. So for me, there is nobody outside of those 3 that I would take at number 3. I'm not taking Caden Lindstrom. I do like him as a player. I do like what he brings. I just have too many question marks about the offensive side of the game and the how he translates, his hockey sense translates to the next level, and his skating ability, that I'm just like, he's not for me a 3rd overall pick, where I'm like, I'm confident that all of those things will work out. There's too many what ifs and question marks I have about him. I like a lot of the other defensemen there. I like Z Boynam. I like Zane Perek. We just talked and ripped Sam Dickinson a little bit. I do like him, just not there. I like Carter Yakemchuk, but again, you can get them later, and I think there's a reason the other guys, in terms of Levshunov and Silyev for defensemen, why I would take them, right? Silyev, you already mentioned, just special. You take a swing on a guy like that everything works out and can pan out, and we'll have a few years in the KHL to kind of marinate before you bring him up. Levshunov is a little bit closer. You're going to get him for sure. He plays in the NCAA for Michigan State, so he'll probably go back there for 1 year and then sign with your team and come over. For me, it goes like this: if you think Demidov as good as a lot of people think, if the Ducks are in the camp that he is by far and away the second best player available, you take him. You take him at 3 if he falls to you. If he's there,
Cam Robinson says he has the potential to be the most dynamic offensive player in the draft.
Yeah,
if he's that, you take him.
Yeah,
if that's who he is. Let me say, if you believe that is who he is, because again, there's always reasons that things could go crazy as far as players not working out.
Yeah.
If you think he is the most dynamic offensive player in this draft, you take him.
Yeah. I think for me, where the Ducks are right now, I really do like Artem Levshunov. I really do. But I think you can, and what he'll turn into, get players like that. You can just get players like that. You can trade players for players like that. You can sign players like that. And it's not
Who
to say
is that? Okay, so let me ask you this way. Who is that? Like, who are you, when you say players like that, who are you thinking of? Because
3-4 right-handed defensemen. Maybe 2-3 right, like second, third level right-handed.
So you
defensemen.
don't think he has number one defenseman potential?
I don't. I think. No, I don't.
Because if he doesn't have number one potential upside, I don't think he's the choice.
I don't think anybody on this team or in this draft defense wise has bona fide number one defenseman potential, in my opinion. And listen, I'm not an expert by any means. I think the closest one is Artem Levshunov in terms of being the most complete and most well-rounded he can get there. And I'm not saying he can't get there. I just don't think the odds are greater than 50% that he gets there. The reason I would have him third of who I would take. And the reason I say that is because I think the Ducks need to take swings on special players at this point. I think if Demidov is there, you take him, because I think he's just by far and away the second best player in this draft. The next guy I take Silylev at number 3 if he's there, and if Demidov goes at 2, I take Silylev at 3, because you take the swing on this guy just being an absolute unicorn in the draft of something we haven't seen in a while. And again, you might not get the offense from this guy, but you look at the defensemen the Ducks have in their system. They're not going to struggle for offense in the blue line when you've got Minchikov and Zellweger to bring a 6'7" monster who can skate like Silylev can into this system. Who cares that he's the left shot defenseman? It's just something you have to take a swing on if you can. And then Levshunov, listen, I'm not going to hate the pick if they take him. I'll just be slightly disappointed they didn't take a swing for the fences. That's all. And I think Levshunov can come in and be a great defenseman. He's a great fit. He's a right shot. He's 6'2". He's got offensive potential. He's needs to work on some things defensively, but he certainly has the structure to be able to, and the size to be able to do that and physically compete at the NHL level. It's a safe pick, I would say that. But where the Ducks are in this development process, the young players they have in their system, I feel like they're at a point where they can take a swing and go for it and hope you get something special from one of those two guys. But beyond that, I don't take anybody else, man. If you want one of these other guys, the Cole Eisermans and the Buinams, the Pereks, the Dickinsons, the Ginlas, those type of guys, the Kemcheks, you trade up for those guys. You trade up somewhere into the top 15, and you take one of those guys later on.
So the Worm is on TV talking to the TNT panel. We love Worm.
Oh, 5-2 final?
Yeah. But they're talking to pairs. Yeah, man,
Who's outside of the guys we've discussed? Celebrini, Demidov, Levshunov.
Yakimchuk is my favorite player in the draft.
Silylev. So yeah, I was gonna say who's your favorite player?
Yakimchuk is my favorite player in the draft.
And if you had to pick a forward outside of those 5 we've discussed, who would be your guy? So if you could get anybody other than Demidov,
probably Eiserman.
Eiserman. Yeah.
Because so here's the thing, right? We're talking about special. Carter Yakimchuk scored 30 fucking goals as a defenseman. in, I believe, the WHL.
Yeah.
That's fucking special. And we talked. I don't know. I don't think we've talked about it on here. I think we've just talked about it between ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I watched a highlight clip of him, and he did something that I could not believe. He skated the puck in. He led the rush on his. He was on the left side coming down, and he turned, skated backwards with the puck, and posted up a defenseman on the other team like a fucking hold-up center forward.
Yeah.
And then just made a nice little drop pass to the attacking forward coming down the middle. It was incredible to me that he had the presence of mind to be like, I am bigger, stronger, and more skilled than this guy. Turn my back to them, put them on my back, and dictate the play facing away from the goal. He's mean, he's big, he's right shot. He has offensive skill. He's a really good skater. Like, I think Yakimchuk is the guy for me. If, to me, I would take him anywhere outside the top 5.
Yep. I think, listen, an ideal draft for me is you take Demidov at 3 and you trade up wherever you can to get Yakimchuk. Or whatever possibility is. Like, I imagine a Ducks, like the Ducks blue line already is looking like just a transition monster in the next few years when you've got Mintyukov, you've got Zellweger and Luneau in there. If you add Yakimchuk to that mix and you can run Mintyukov, Luneau, Zellweger, Yakimchuk as your top 4, those are 4 of the very best young players and young transition defensemen outside the NHL at this point. And obviously Mintyukov and Zellweger and Luneau to some extent are right on the cusp or are in the NHL if you want to consider it, that at this point have played their rookie seasons. That is an exceptional top 4 to roll out there where you can trust any one of those 4 guys to take the puck and get it up the ice and make a smart decision with it. That's the modern day blue line to a T. Big, other than Zellweger, guys who can play physical, who can skate, who can shoot the puck, who can make the right pass, who can break out from their own end. You've got 4 guys in your top 4 who could do that. If you can walk out of the draft with a skilled player like Demidov and a defenseman like Kemchuk, that's an immediate shot to the arm of basically what the 2 things you need. And Ducks need goal scoring, but I think Demidov, with just his skill and his ability, offsets it. He'll score at the National Hockey League just because of his skill. Now, he doesn't have a shot. Right? He does, but he does have a shot like a Cole Eiserman or something like that.
Right.
But he's one of those players that will score just because of how skilled and how smart they are.
Yeah, I think, I think there's an argument to be made that if it goes Celebrini Demidov, if you're Anaheim, do you trade back and see if you can pick up another pick?
Yeah, I think you do that if you don't if you don't think Silyev and Caden Lindstrom, in their opinion, are significantly better than the rest of the pack. If you have Celebrini, Demidov, and then Lindstrom.
If Ottawa offers you 7 and 25 for 3, do you say yes?
Yeah.
If you can get Yakimchuk or Silyev at 7?
Yeah, and then I probably package 25 and 29 to 32, wherever it is, to move up into 20th to 15 to 20 range, and try and maybe grab a drop-in Cole Eiserman or a Tija Ginla if he's still there.
You'd take those 2 and trade up to 14.
Yeah.
With San Jose, they need picks. They need young players.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's possible. Obviously, draft day, you don't really see that too often. Somebody drop down from 3, but yeah, I think if you legitimately, or if you're the Ducks and you think that Lindstrom and Silyev are the same as Eiserman and Dickinson and Perrick and Yakimchuk and Iginla, If you think they're close enough to the same, and you can drop back and get 2 picks, and then use those 2 late picks to jump back up and kind of get get a pick in the top 10 at 7, and another pick in, around that 14, 15, 16 range, then I'd be all for that. Now it's about getting your guys at that spot. That's the tough thing, right? It's about getting the guys that you want.
Yeah,
and we're talking about the guys we want at this point. If you can walk out with, arguably the best shot in the draft in Yzerman and Yakemchuk, who is one of the better defensemen outside of the top 2 we've discussed, then that's a great draft for me. That's feels like a pipe dream, right? Because we just don't see that happen too much. It'd be exceptional. I would love it. It'd be great. It'd be drama. It'd be chaos. It'd be everything. But
I think it would also. It would just show so much guts from the front office.
It's not an easy thing to move off of a 3rd overall pick.
No,
It really
absolutely not. The reason we all fucking wanted to lose all those games is to get the best possible pick. And the reason you want the best possible pick is because you have the most options. And part of having the most options is trading that pick. But that is among the harder options to consider, because when you have a high pick, you can go, look at this great player we drafted with this high pick. If you trade back, then it's, look at these 2 guys who are pretty good that we drafted with this pick. You know what I mean? Like, I get why, again,
Now,
it's a very hard thing to do when you have to stand there and justify to your boss why you did it.
Yeah. The ideal of all ideal situations is taking somebody at 3 and then packaging some sort of something with that other first-round pick to move back into the top 15. I don't know what that would be. There's plenty of possibilities of who you could trade with.
I mean, I've got all sorts of terrible ideas.
Oh, I know. I've seen a lot of them. There's a lot of potential for. I mean, you look at Philadelphia at 12 and Minnesota at 13, New Jersey at 10. If all teams
Seattle at 8.
Teams that could be willing to move off that pick. Ottawa at 7. You already mentioned them as a possibility to move off of that pick. You're still giving them a first-round pick, and I don't know what it would be that they would get in return, but there are options if you want to swing for the fences where you don't have to move that. Now, it's harder, for sure, to pry a team off of a pick in the top 10, especially even in the top 15, without giving them significant assets in return. But again, having that second first helps, and if you can give them something that they really need, they feel they can't get elsewhere, hey, it's possible for sure. It's an interesting position.
Does 30 and Gibson and oh god, I don't know.
Talking to New Jersey.
Warren get you 12? So 10 was my first thought, but 12, I think Philly is another interesting one. Because look, here's the deal. If you can find the deal, the teams that need a goalie is 7 with Ottawa, 10 at Jersey, 11 with
I think
Buffalo,
Buffalo's going with Devin Levi.
and 12 with
Philly.
I
think you could look at maybe 10 and 12 as options for that. I think New Jersey's probably going to continue to push hard for Linus Ullmark, so I think 12 is a possibility there to try and get that. How you make it work salary-wise is the question. There's a lot of moving parts to it, but it has the grounds of being a possibility. To package that later pick, where the Flyers don't really need the picks at this point. They're just looking to get players to build out this kind of weird roster that they've assembled, and they need a goaltender now because nobody knows what's going to happen with Carter Hart. So it's a possibility for them. That's what I would say. Now I think they're probably waiting for some of the dust to settle around other top goaltenders on the market, but if it comes down to it on draft day and those options have kind of disappeared, that might be all that's left. And if you can still salvage a later first round pick from it and get a starting goaltender and another piece to your system, it becomes pretty enticing, and it fills.
Does McTavish in 7, or does McTavish in 29, and the Oilers pick get you 7?
I would think so, because it's not like McTavish is not done well.
And here's the thing, he would clearly not have to be the number 1 guy. He would be a change of pace player to play behind Tim Stutzla
Now, if you're Anaheim, though, do you like? Is it worth it though? Is whoever you're getting at 7, you have to hope is going to be better than whatever Mason McTavish. See, that's why those trades.
It's
are so
entirely
hard for
dependent
me.
on who I get at 3.
Yeah.
If I get Demidov at 3, that trade is worth it because I'm taking Cilia or Yakimchuk at 7.
Yeah.
And I'm perfectly happy.
Yeah. So yeah, and it's a trade you make at 7, knowing that one of those guys is still there. Right?
Sure.
So,
Yes.
Yeah.
If I can get, if I can get,
Presumably, like Demidov replaces McTavish's spot in the lineup eventually, in the top 6, obviously not at center, and then you go Carlson, Zegras down the middle, Carlson, Carter Gauthier down the middle, or whatever you end up wanting to do. So it's possible for sure. Yeah, like if you get Demidov, does that make Mason McTavish surplus to requirements at that point? It could.
It makes somebody surplus to requirements.
It does, yeah. In the long term, because Demidov is, I don't know, I know his details with his KHL contract. It's not as bad as some of the Russians that we had. I'm pretty sure
It's all weird.
but
man,
he's at
just
least a
draft the
couple
best
years.
fucking
He's
player.
at least a couple years out, so it does eventually give you that flexibility. Now it does make the next
Draft
couple
the
years
best
harder.
fucking player.
No, I think you should too. But
No. But here's the thing. What it does is it buys you an extra year to let everybody develop,
Yep.
and then you
So
just
you
like
just take
oh,
Demidov and Cilia,
just-
and you don't see
and
them
you
for 2 years.
just drop Demidov in, and you're like, oh, you know how we have this perfectly nice, exciting and electric forward group? We're also just gonna add in maybe the best player outside the NHL. Sorry,
All for
thanks.
it.
Like,
So
yeah, it fucking rips.
beyond who we're gonna take, Pat Verbeek came out and said, "Now I no preparation for this. I remember, I know he said they wanted a right shot top 6 forward. Was there
Yeah.
also
Right
mention
shot
of defenseman, right? Right shot defenseman.
He wants to
Okay,
get-
so that's right.
Basically, a top 4 right shot defenseman and a top 6 right shot forward.
So we have the potential to see that as well, right? We have the potential to see some trades, heading into the draft, at the draft, after the draft, before free agency, where they can go and explore that. There are some options in free agency. High end, obviously, Sam Reinhart is one. Charlotte Foley is a free agent.
That's the one for me.
Yeah, there's a few others I'm missing that I know we've talked about offline before, that are options, but it does dip off in terms of high-profile names off after Sam Reinhart of free agents that are available. In trade, obviously Mitch Marner, after the Leafs crashed out of the playoffs, has been one that's been thrown around. Most recently, Martin Necas from Carolina, because they're going to have trouble re-signing all their players. That his name has been out there because he's a pending RFA. Patrick Laine has, I think, another year on his contract after this. That situation isn't working out with Columbus, so his name is back out into the mix again. So there's options. I mean, if you're looking for a right shot top 6 forward right now, there's certainly more options than some of the other positions out there. And if you're Anaheim, you've got probably more flexibility in terms of assets and cap space than any other team in the league to make this happen. Like, the Ducks are one of the few, if not only, teams that could pull off moves for any of these players that we've mentioned, from as high
I think
profile to
Utah is
Marner.
in that mix as well.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe a little less so in terms
But
of
I
prospect
don't think
flexibility,
Chicago
but
is. I don't
Nope.
think Detroit is.
Nope.
I don't think Vancouver is. I don't think Columbus is.
I think the Ducks are in the unique position to be able to say, well, we can move a player like Mason McTavish, and it doesn't hurt us to think we're going to go out and make a need somewhere else. I think, like you said, yeah, Utah's probably the closest, but moving a Logan Cooley does hurt them, where unless you're moving Morgan, it's not Morgan Geeky. I know it's not Morgan Geeky, but
Connor Geeky.
Connor Geeky. Unless Connor Geeky, you could look at moving that, doesn't hurt you, or you hope that he comes in and replaces what Logan Cooley gives you, something like that. You move one of those guys in a pick, and that does help you out. So Anaheim, Utah, probably the only 2 teams with the cap flexibility, assets to be able to get any of these moves done. So they'll be right in the mix, I'm sure, if any of these rumors, once we hear them go off, that they have the potential to pull it off. So it'd be interesting, man. I do hope, and I do think we will make these acquisitions and both the targets that Pat Verbeek is looking for in terms of a right-handed top 4 defenseman and a right shot top 6 forward, I think we'll get there. I think the more intriguing one by all means is that right shot top 6 forward, just because the options that are out there's a lot of different avenues you can go through free agency, through trade. There's a lot of interesting moves that the Ducks could make to get there.
Who is your number one target for that right shot forward spot?
If you could without breaking the bank pull off a move for Mitch Marner, I think you have to go for the best player available. I think he's getting flack for good reason from Toronto, but I don't think he's the problem there. I think he's an exceptional player. I think of the Reinhardts, the Netchas, the Laines, all the guys available, he is by far and away the best player. It's not close. And you're getting him at an age that works perfectly with where the Ducks are in their rebuild right now. I believe he's 26, 27.
He just turned 27 in the beginning of May. So he'll be 27 for all of next season.
Yeah, so it's a good spot to get him. You'll be 29, 30 when you're starting to compete. So you get, the good prime years.
If you add Mitch Marner, I don't think it's 29. I think you're looking 28, 27. I think next year you're hoping for that actual wild card spot. Because if you trade for Mitch Marner, knowing that you're going to have to give up assets and sign him to an extension, you are going and finding a win now top 4 defenseman.
Yep.
And you are saying
into free agency and hitting up Brandon Montour in free agency or somebody like that.
Chris Tanev. That's who we want. I want both of the Calgary guys. I want Toffoli and Tanev. But whatever. Here's the question I think is an interesting one. Say there was a player who was a month and a half, closer to 2 months older than Mitch Marner. Not as good, but is going to be a free agent, unrestricted free agent at the end of next season. Will be up for an extension, has had goal-scoring success, and could possibly provide a different dynamic from an emotional perspective to this Ducks team while still adding elite forward talent.
Are we talking Tyler Toffoli?
No. We are talking about a player who has scored 30 goals in back-to-back seasons by the name of Travis Konecny.
Could be interesting, yeah. That's not one you would think of. I believe his name crept into trade rumors at the deadline last year.
Mm-hmm.
I would love him, man. I think he's an exceptional player. I think he'd cost you a lot less than what a Mitch Marner would. And it could be one of those moves where, again, the Flyers aren't looking to move him and not stay competitive. So it's a move where you move out, maybe a Strome or a Vetrano and then assets to make that happen. And the Flyers just aren't in a position confident enough to think that they could re-sign him for what he would want. And you get a few years out of a player who can step in and do a job, and then some other assets to make a move elsewhere. I like it. I think not one I would think. I think if you put him in the mix with the other guys we mentioned, I think it'd be Marner and then him. And then you look at the guys like Netchas and Laine and Reinhardt as top tier options beyond that. But I would put him firmly at number 2 on there, just because what he brings in an all-around game, along with the goal-scoring ability as well.
I agree. I think
he pushes Mitch Marner for me because the price would be a lot less. He pushes
both prices would be a lot less.
Yeah,
because you're looking at probably a guy who you're going to end up paying close to what Terry's making. So maybe another guy who signs another 7-7 deal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if that's
both are definitely sign and trades though. You want that extension in place before you do it. So I think. Yeah, I think you could talk me into being more interested in Konecny if I knew, what roughly the cost was going to be. Just knowing the assets you'd have to give up to get a Mitch Marner in a sign and trade, because he's a 90 to 100 point player. There aren't many of those in the league. It's going to be a lot. I think people Now, obviously, again, it's one of those trades that when you look at it, when it happens, whenever it does happen, more than likely people are going to look at the Leafs as the losers because Mitch Marner is going to be the best player in the deal, and that's how those trades are always looked at initially. But it definitely has the potential, knowing what's going to go in to get Mitch Marner. It's one of those ones that can backfire, and you quickly you're going to give up a lot of assets for him. It's going to really hurt the prospect pool and the draft capital, and even your roster currently, because the Leafs aren't looking to really sell and not get anything in return. It's going to cost a lot to bring a player like Mitch Marner in both ways, like you said, in terms of cap space and flexibility going forward, and assets that you have to go out and get. So whereas if you could give up significantly less assets, significantly less capital going forward to get a Travis Konecny, it might be the better move to go out and do that because you've already got a Troy Terry, you've got a Cutter Gauthier, you've got a lot of wingers in the system.
You know what's an interesting thing?
What?
Do you know who else is going to spend all of next season being 27 years old?
Who?
Troy Terry.
Oh.
His birthday's September 10th. By the time next season starts, he will be 27 years old.
Listen, man, you talked me into this Konecny thing because he does fit a bit more, but what the Ducks are wanting in terms of what they're talking about wanting from a player that they're bringing in, right?
What's funny is he's small. Konechny's only 5'10".
Yeah, but he's a
nasty boy.
He's a nasty 5'10". He plays physical.
That's what I'm saying. And again, he talks a bunch of shit. Like emotionally, I think he would be a perfect little firecracker to drop into that group.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. No, he brings something different that the Ducks don't have. And if you don't have to give up a McTavish to do it, which I don't think you might not have to. Right? You might have to get a Mitch Marner. You probably have to get a Mitch Marner. People think you had to go.
I think you make that trade every time.
A Konecny one?
McTavish for Marner.
Oh yeah, McTavish for Marner. You take it. But
I'm not saying it would be a 1-4-1. I'm not. But what I'm saying is
he's the main piece of that deal because the Leafs get a young, cost-controlled player to come in and help with this run. So I think if you're the Leafs, you're asking for Mason McTavish. Anybody who thinks that they're asking for Trevor Zegras, why would you bring a like-for-like player in if you're the Leafs at this point? Like, you're not bringing in Trevor Zegras when you're shipping out Mitch Marner. It just doesn't make any sense for me to go out and do that. I think Mason McTavish is the easy ask for them. I think you're asking for a defenseman as well, like a Luneau, a Warren, something like that. You're asking for a first-round pick, probably the later one this year, and your first-round pick from next year, and that's probably the starting point for a deal like that. Whereas if you can go out and get a Travis Konecny for significantly less, still some top prospects, draft capital, and a roster player off your team, like I said, a Vetrano, something like that, then I do that one. I think every day of the week if you can.
So here's the thing. I mentioned this to you earlier, but I didn't really explain myself. I really don't want to trade Frank Vetrano.
No, but I mean, if
because
he was
so stoked to be a Duck last year. Mm-hmm. Like, he genuinely seemed to enjoy the hell out of it. And again, we finished third from the fucking bottom.
He had a fucking career year, so
he had a blast. And yeah, part of it is he's potting fucking 35, 36 goals. Mm-hmm. But still, I really he even said at the deadline, I don't want to get traded. I understand
he likes it here for sure.
Bro, I want to reward that dude so much. I'd
love to keep him around, but he seems like a Flyers player.
Possible way to trade. Well, I think Ryan Strome is a John Tortorella player.
Yeah. Those are the two, right? You would see one of them go out the door. Ideally, in our case, it would be Ryan Strome. I think you're giving up a little bit more in terms of assets, which is fine. If it means you can keep for Toronto, keep him into the top 9, add Konecny to that. You've got McTavish, Gauthier, Terry, Zegras, Carlson. It starts to get very interesting for next season and beyond to add a player like Konecny to the mix and then go out and figure out what you want to do for defensemen. But that forward group is really solidified after, and then we're not even again mentioning who the Ducks could take at 3 if it is another forward, right? So you add a Caden Lindstrom, you add a an Ivan Demidov or something like that to that mix, it becomes very, very interesting for
All right.
for their future.
Here's a weird and stupid question. Is there a player in the NHL right now you would trade the third pick for?
I mean, yeah, there's certainly players. Are we talking anybody or potentially available
I'm asking
players?
you, what is a player that you're like, I'm trading the third overall pick right now?
Yeah, easy answer is you're looking at the McDavid, Parcells, McKinnon, Barkovs, those type of players, right?
No, you're not. No, you're not. Look at the core you have right now. Why do you need any of those guys?
Because, I mean, if you can get them for a third overall pick, you do that any day of the week because you're
Draisaitl sucks, first of all. We don't need him. How dare you?
I'm more comfortable with the question of guys who could be potentially available. Would you trade them for? Because I think it makes it a little bit more grounded and realistic in what you could get. Because certainly for me, there's a long list of players I would trade the third overall pick for, just because your ideal hope is that third overall pick becomes a superstar in this league, and that's the top end ceiling. And if I can trade that for any superstar in this league, that list gets pretty long in terms of who I would like. You trade it for a Rantanen, you would trade it for a McKinnon.
I don't think you do. I don't think you do it for either of those guys.
What are we doing here?
No, I'm serious. Here's what we're gonna do, because I want to have this conversation with you right now, because I think you're fucking insane. We are gonna do 4 leaders from this season.
Give me a list
And
because
I'm
it's
gonna
be long.
read them to you off.
Yep.
One from starting at the 1, and this is an actual war. Okay, not expected war, whatever. And you're gonna tell me yes or no.
Okay.
Nathan McKinnon,
Yes.
Austin Matthews,
Yes.
Connor McDavid,
Yes.
Zach Hyman,
No.
Elias Pettersson,
Yes.
Quinn Hughes,
No.
Nikita Kucherov.
He's over 30 now, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
buddy, if you think that's a problem, wait till you hear about how old fucking Nathan McKinnon is.
No for Kucherov.
Nathan McKinnon is 28. He'll be 29 at the start of
fine.
next season.
Okay, fine. He's 2 years older than the guys we've been talking about. I'm fine with that. Kucherov's a no.
Rupe Hintz,
No.
Seth Jarvis,
No.
David Pastrnak,
Yes.
Jesper Bratt,
No.
Philip Forsberg. Don't fucking start with me. Kirill Kaprizov.
Philip Forsberg's a real tough no,
No,
because
it's not. No, it's fucking not.
I would love that guy on our team immediately.
That's not the question I'm asking you.
I know. I would say no. Kaprizov, yes. Kaprizov, say yes.
Hey, Eddie, how many times in his career do you think Philip Forsberg has hit 30 goals?
4.
Exactly. How many times do you think he's hit 40 goals?
Just last year?
Twice. He's going to be... Where is his birthday? Yeah, he's going to be 30 this summer.
I said no.
Yeah, you thought about it.
I did think
hard.
about
I'm
it.
so mad at you.
Kaprizov, yes.
Evan Bouchard.
Oof.
Evan Bouchard is an interesting one because he's young.
Yeah, I think yes.
Jason Robertson.
Yes.
Roman Yossi.
No.
I'm not even going to ask you 17 because I know it's a yes because he's your boy, Barkov.
Yes.
Brandon Hagel.
No.
Sam Reinhart.
No.
20th in WAR for the NHL, Connor Garland.
No. But I
Miro
will trade for
Heiskanen.
him immediately something else. So we haven't even mentioned him as a right shot forward that we could go out and trade for that wouldn't cost that much. We might get something to take him from Vancouver, which is wild.
Nah, not after the playoffs he had.
Yeah, dude, it's Marner, Konecny, Garland. he's right there. I'll take that
With
guy
it, dude. I am with
instantly,
it.
dude. I would love to have him.
Miro Heiskanen, Nazem Kadri, Thomas Harley, Adam Fox, Matt Boldy, Mikko Rantanen, William Karlsson, Artemi Panarin, Joel Eriksson Ek, Matthias Ekholm, Gustav Forsling, Jason Dickinson, Ryan O'Reilly, Vincent Trocheck. Oh, hey, we got to Mitch Marner at 36. Marcus Pedersen and Matthew Tkachuk had the same war last year.
Garland I didn't watch the Canucks. I'm just looking at his stats. He had 3 goals and 5 points in 13 playoff games.
Yeah, dude, he was really good this year.
He just played
in the playoffs.
Just 5 points in 13 games, though?
Yeah, but like
He
I
just
think
played
two of the
yeah.
3 goals are like game winners.
Yeah. I don't know,
Kale
man.
McCarr
I
was
would love him,
50th in WAR.
Garland's one of those guys that you're surprised he's only scored 20 twice, but I would take him. I would take him for sure. Yeah, dude, there's at least 20
Kale
guys.
McCarr is...
I would take Kale McCarr for the third overall
Yeah,
pick.
you know why?
Fucking
Because
joke.
Kale McCarr is going to be 26 at the start of next season.
Yeah.
That's why. Because he's younger than Troy Terry.
Yeah. So there's a decent list of guys that we could take.
I think you're insane. I think you're
I
literally
guarantee you, if I listed off every freaking 23-year-old that has potential, you would trade them for the third overall pick.
I don't think I would. Okay, now let's see. Here's a slightly more interesting one. Expected WAR: Matthews, McKinnon, Panarin, Reinhard, Simon, Adam Fox. Now we're getting somewhere.
Are you trading the third overall pick for Matthew or Brady Tkachuk?
No, I don't think I am.
For either of them.
I don't think I am. I'm definitely not trading it for fucking Brady. I don't believe in that shit.
Matthew Tkachuk is what, 27? He's same age as Marner.
Let me check. Florida.
So you're doing it for McCarr, but you're not doing it for Matthew Tkachuk.
Matthew Tkachuk will turn 27 in December.
So he's going to be 26 for half the year. So you're not doing it for Matthew Tkachuk.
He's the line. He's the line
for Kale McCarr.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are we? Look, please don't make me sit here and pretend that those two are the same people. One of them is a right shot defenseman
one of them is
arguably one of the 4 best players in the world right now.
Fair, but I mean, Matthew Tkachuk is a 100-point potential, 30 to 40 goal scorer who plays physical.
Matthew Tkachuk is probably my favorite player who doesn't wear a Duck sweater right now.
Yeah,
I get it, dude. I get it. He's the line. Matthew Tkachuk is probably the line. Like, that's the guy. That's probably the oldest player I would consider.
You aren't trading a third overall pick for Connor McDavid.
No, fuck him.
you're on some like hater shit.
Yes, 100%.
Oh my god. Alright. I gotta move off this conversation.
Because it's what? The third overall pick, Mason McTavish, Tristan Luneau, and a top 10 protected first next year? Fuck off.
Oh, I thought you said the third overall pick straight up for these guys.
I'm still not doing it. Fuck him.
Oh, come on.
Fucking loser.
Okay.
Matthew Tkachuk is better than Connor McDavid. That's all I'm saying. How old is Connor McDavid? I actually need to look this up now. I'm annoyed.
He was the same draft. He's 28, I think, right? Or 20. I think he was the same draft as most of these guys.
Yeah, he'll be
sooner to it.
28 in January.
Yeah.
He's so fucking good. It's insane.
Yeah, he's almost at 1,000 points already. Or is he over? Is he over now, or he's at like 900 something? Like he's.
I don't know. Just move on, because I'm full hater mode right now.
Yeah. You wanted to
982 points. It's 645 games. Jesus Christ.
I don't even know if you still want to talk about this, but you'd mentioned this to me last time we tried to record. There's something with the Leafs that you wanted to talk about. Is that still on the agenda, or is that your time passed with that?
No, here's my thing with the Leafs. They should be so easy to make better for next season. And I am 100% confident that Brad Treliving is going to completely fuck this up.
Yeah, that's fair. I agree with that.
Like, they have $18.5 million in cap space. They don't have any real notable restricted free agents. What the how is it even remotely possible that they're going to screw this up? Like, they are going to screw this up, and it's insane to me.
I mean, listen, their offseason starts and ends with we don't know who Mitch Marner's getting traded. starts and ends with the Mitch Marner trade. We don't know which one of the big four is going to get traded. You're not trading Matthews. You're not trading Nylander after that playoffs, and there's good fucking luck getting anybody to take John Tavares. So you're trading Mitch Marner. We all know you're trading Mitch Marner. Your off season and its success starts and ends with whatever the fuck you get from Mitch Marner. That's where it ends.
Mm-hmm.
If you can fleece somebody for Mitch Marner and get something good in return, you've got a chance. If you can get out from the majority of that cap.
In a Marner trade?
You're looking for a Mason McTavish type player, a player who can jump into presumably your top six now and has potential to continue to develop into a very good young top six.
So you're looking for a young top of the lineup forward,
or a young top of the line defenseman.
Okay,
one of the two, and also shedding at least $6 million of that $11 million. So you can go and invest that into the other position. If you're getting a forward in return, you go invest that in a defenseman. If you can get a defenseman in return, you go and invest that into a forward. If you're Toronto, you go and you look at, again, they're going to go heavy on a guy like Brandon Montour or whoever in free agency. If they don't get, if they get a defenseman in return, they're going to go heavy into the forward market and try and get somebody there. So I think that's where it starts, is significant cap relief and a very good young either top four defenseman or top six forward now. So if you can get that and then get either another roster player or some draft capital that you can move,
you've got to get at least one more. You've got to get at least one first round pick in that trade.
Yeah, you're going to for sure. But those are the two most, like, if you get those two things, I don't really care in a sense what else you get. Whatever else you get is kind of just sweetener, and it helps you. But you need those two things. You need the top young, either defenseman or forward, and cap relief if you're the Leafs. If you have any hope in hell turning this around and having success next year and being able to have a little more fucking flexibility with this roster, you need to get those two things. I still think there's hope for them to do it. Is
Keller good enough?
Yeah, I think so. He's a little bit older than what I was maybe thinking, but it's certainly, the thing for me is Clayton Keller is very similar to Mitch Marner.
Except for the fact that he's not great at defense.
Yeah. So it is my thing with the why would you trade Mitch Marner to bring back Trevor Zegras type scenario, right? Is I think you're looking at bringing in a different profile. So that's why Mason McTavish makes sense.
Clayton Keller is going to be 26 this summer.
The one other thing I've seen is when Mitch Marner has been rumored to go to Nashville, of getting a guy like UC Saros back and getting a goaltender back. I'm not a huge fan of that. But I can see if you can get a goaltender like UC Saros to come back, I can kind of understand it, because that's a significant need for the Leafs, is getting a legitimate goaltender in. It's not my first choice again, but if you can get that in return as well as some other assets, then that's another potential shift in the paradigm for the Leafs where they could have some success next year. Cap relief and an elite goaltender, because I do think UC Saros is an elite goaltender. I think him and Forsberg dragged Nashville and Yossi to some extent to a playoff spot this year. Nobody thought that the Preds would make the playoffs this year.
Mm-hmm. Wonder if you could get Brant Clark.
I think you could. I don't know what the Kings are going to do. I love that they got absolutely hammered by the Oilers in round one. None of their prospects to an extent have panned out, and now they're in this weird spot where a lot of those guys haven't panned out, and their window is closing fairly fast, and they really haven't done anything to really change it. And they've got to trade Pierre-Luc Dubois, so
they already said they're not going to. So
they're not. Okay.
They've already said they're not going to, at least.
Does he even want to play there?
I don't know, but he's making $9.5 million. I hope he does.
Wow. Yeah. So we might as well get into playoffs. Some of the big stories from playoffs. The Kings were one.
Is Mackenzie Weegar good enough to move Mitch Marner?
Not by himself, no.
I don't think he is.
And I don't think beyond that Calgary has enough to also include something else in that deal, right? Like,
no, they don't have shit.
They don't have anything. So that's where, like, again, there's limited suitors that are going to have enough for it to make sense. So either One of those teams is going to pay up, or nobody's going to pay up, and the Leafs are going to lose this deal because they're going to be forced to move him because they have to do something. They cannot, 0% chance they go into next season with all 4 of those guys on the team. There's no chance. There is absolutely 0 chance that happens.
Oh, buddy, I think you are mistaken, my friend.
No, there's no way. There's no way for me they don't figure out either some way in how to get out of John Tavares or they trade Mitch Marner.
Oh no, they are absolutely. I think there is at least a 1 in 3 chance that whole 4 is still together. For sure.
I thought you were gonna say a 1 to 3% chance that big.
No.
3, a third chance for that.
33%.
That's a lot higher than I would. I'd give a 5% chance at max that they're, and I don't even believe
We
in
should
that.
trade
5%.
Mitch Marner for Sidney Crosby.
No.
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 What about if they included Marcus Pettersson, the best defenseman in the world?
No, you're not trading Mitch Marner unless you're not getting a player significantly older than Mitch Marner in return. You need
People keep saying fucking Chicago, but I'm like, Chicago doesn't fucking have anything.
for what?
That's what I want to know.
Seth Jones.
Your boy, your best friend.
Yeah. That's why I laughed when I heard to Vegas for Pietrangelo. Like, why?
Yeah. I will say
those are the types of moves that
Carlson and Theodore for Mitch Marner is a very interesting trade.
Yeah,
It's an interesting trade. You can't say it's not. That's all I'm saying. You can't say
it's
it's
interesting.
not.
It's interesting for sure. It doesn't move the needle enough for me, but it's interesting. It definitely is. But
You know who they should trade him for?
who?
Jacob Trouba.
Now, yeah, I mean, Rangers makes no sense for them to do it, but Trouba plus would be something Trouba and
Trouba.
Can't say Lafreniere after the playoffs he's having right now, but
Trouba. Let's see. Trouba plus what? Like Philip Hedl? Plus
first round pick.
Plus a first round pick?
Yeah, it's starting point for sure. It's a possibility. I don't see.
You got to include Cackle in there too.
If you're the Rangers and how far you've already made it in the core you have,
there's fucking nowhere to send this guy.
Yeah, it's very limited. It's very limited. Utah.
I saw some people say fucking Dobson, and I'm like maybe, but I don't know why they would do that after the year he had.
Yeah, you can't because there isn't anything else there on defense or coming up for the Islanders. So, yeah, the list is very limited. I'd say 4 or 5 teams it really makes sense for, and that might be being generous. So
I think that is being generous.
Again, the 2 off the top of my head are Anaheim and Utah. Nashville's been in the mix, but I don't see why it makes a ton of sense for them. I know they're one of, like, if you have to move UC Saros, you better hope Askarov is ready to go and is what you think he is. Then it makes sense. If it's predominantly just UC Saros, which it probably wouldn't be. Vegas, you're not going to get what you want in return. Chicago, same thing. Columbus, Montreal, you're not going to get enough. Even Utah to some extent, like I don't know if you're going to get enough in return for it to really make a difference. But
could you get Konecny and Morgan Frost?
You mean you could, but then you're Toronto, you're in the situation again of having to re-sign a player at the same time you would have to re-sign Mitch Marner.
Yeah, but again, he's going to cost so much less, and you're getting a center in it.
Yeah, I mean, possibly yes. It could be, but can the Flyers make that work? Right?
God, there's fucking nowhere to send him that makes any real sense.
Yeah,
they're so screwed.
It's here, honestly.
Oh, they are so screwed.
I don't think they're gonna get what they want for him, and I ultimately think they're gonna feel like they have to move him. So it's gonna be interesting to see what they do on that point.
Trade him for Connor Hellebuck.
Yeah, I mean,
that would be
there's
funny.
No way in hell. Big bummer for the Jets to get just absolutely manhandled in that first round after everybody thought they were going to do something. I don't know.
it's
Where
tragic. I feel awful.
where
for
do
them.
the Jets
Can't
go
you tell
from
them my
here?
voice?
Because nobody expected them to be good this year, and then they showed up and were actually really good, and then trounced in by the Avs in round one.
Let's see.
'Cause
Well,
everybody else who lost is like it is what it is. Like
4,
Preds
5.
lost, but they should have lost. And you didn't really expect them to be there. The Kings lost and whatever. Like they lost to the Oilers. Vegas lost in a close battle to one of the best teams in the National Hockey League. So it is what it is. The Knights will be back. The Jets getting hammered by Colorado. Like yeah, they are one of the best teams in the league, Colorado. But that's what do you do if you're Winnipeg?
So
That's
here's the
one
thing
question
that's
mark
really
for the
interesting.
West.
If you're Winnipeg, I think you take a year off. Because here's the thing. They only have Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor, Nino Niederreiter, Adam Lowry, Joshua Morrissey, and Connor Hellebuck under contract after next season. Everybody else is a UFA or an RFA. Man, do you take a year off? See if you can get a good pick?
Yeah, maybe. It's easy to say take a year off.
Try to move Nikolai Ehlers.
I think they're gonna try and move Nikolai Ehlers, but even then,
Move Neil Pionk.
you've got like
He's allegedly a real person.
you've got Brad Lambert coming up.
They
You've got
do.
another
They
year-
have
another
fake
year
human
of
being
Cole
Brad
Perfetti.
Lambert.
You've got there are some good things coming for Winnipeg, and they've got the base there. You need another defenseman for sure. So if you can move Nick Ehlers for a defenseman, that would be huge for them.
They've got Chaz Lucius.
There's potential there for the Jets to be
Cole
good.
Perfetti's an RFA. Rasmus Kupari's under salary next year. Yeah, I don't know.
They are the
I don't
most
know what they
disappointing
do.
team from the West in the playoffs for me. Like I expected them to push a little harder for that one. They just, we already mentioned the other three teams who got eliminated. I understand it, but for them, they're the most disappointing one. For me, from the West, and then in the East, like again, it's probably the Leafs. We already mentioned them. Like to go out and flash out again, like. The Islanders losing it is what it is. I don't think they're that great of a team. Didn't really expect them to be there to get into the
Right.
playoffs. The Lightning getting hammered is kind of like a feel-good, right? Like losing 4-1 to the Panthers. That feels a little good for them to go out that way. Washington swept by the Rangers. The most expected sweep, I think, if anybody was going to sweep anybody, it was going to be the Rangers over the Caps. So the Leafs are probably the most disappointing one from the East, and we already went heavy into them and what they should do and what they're going to do. So, of course, the most interesting teams from each conference on what they're going to do in the offseason are two Canadian teams.
Of course, the Canadian thinks that. I want to know what the hell Boston's going to do this summer.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, presumably move one of their goaltenders, Linus Ullmark, most likely after Swayman's performance. I think they're going to move Ullmark and try and get something
have
else.
to.
Yeah, you kind of do.
Gotta move them.
To get something else in, some help in some other areas, likely up front for them, to get some depth and some good forwards into the mix. They don't really have anybody on the up coming up for them. So you've got McAvoy and Lindholm on the back end, and you've got some good depth players on defense that you can kind of roll with. You've got Carlo, you've got Grizzly, so you're good on defense. You need some help for Marchand and Pasternak. They need to make another run at it. They have to.
Yeah.
So they need a center. They need to somehow get a center.
They
in
need
there.
a center so bad.
If you can use Ullmark to get that, which I think they hope they can, Ullmark maybe plus to get a center. That's the one and only thing they need to do. They don't really need to do much. They're a good team. They're a well-coached team. They need a center. They don't have a single center. They rolled into the playoffs with Pavel Zacha and Charlie Coyle. Is their 1-2 punch?
Yep.
And took the Leafs to 7 and won, and took the Panthers to Game 6. Like they did that with that as their center core. They lined up against Barkov with Zacha and Charlie Coyle. Like it was inevitably their run was going to be ended. They weren't going to make it that far, but they do have the makings and potential of a team that still has the ability, as long as Marchand's wheels don't fall off, to compete over the next couple seasons and still be a really good team and tough team to play against. So they'll be interesting just to see what they can actually salvage from Ullmark, and because they'll be harping on his Vezina winning season and reflecting on that, and teams are going to be looking at this year saying, well, what Ullmark are we going to get, right?
Well, here's an interesting question, Eddie. What do you think you would have to add to Ullmark, or is Rob Blake this desperate to just get Quentin Byfield?
Rob Blake might be that desperate. I don't know. I don't know, man. The problem
Does
with like
next
these
year's
moves,
first and
yeah, it
Linus
has to be a
Ullmark
pick
get you Quentin Byfield?
because if you're Boston, you can't move a roster player and you don't have prospects to move, so it's got to be picks. And I think it might.
Oh, you
get
could throw
done.
Fabian Lysell in there. You can get Lysell's outside the
Yeah,
door.
how many years is Fabian Lysell going to be an option to move before he just doesn't pan out? Like he's been like a trade
I
option.
don't.
I feel like for the last 2
we
years.
got that point with Jacob Perreault this year, so
Yeah. So.
it is what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. It's possible. I'm really interested. I think he goes to New Jersey. I think New Jersey is going to push really hard to get Linus
What are
Ullmark.
they gonna fucking give up?
New Jersey has assets to give up, though. That's the thing. They can. They have young
Who?
players to give
Who do
up.
they have to give up?
A top 10 prospect pool to go and dive into.
All right. Who's the best center?
Yeah. So there's your problem. That top
That's
10
my point.
prospect pool might not include centers.
Yeah. Like, what are you gonna do? Be the second idiot to take Timo Meyer?
You can take Dougie Hamilton back.
Yeah, there's that. Except for the part where you already have Charlie McAvoy. Though I guess if you trade Ullmark for Dougie Hamilton and trade Charlie McAvoy for Mason McTavish, you fix all your problems. So there you go, Eddie. You fixed it.
You do.
They don't have dude. Dougie makes $9 million for 4 more years.
Yeah, he's getting.
I did not realize he made it 4 more years. That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's.
no centers on the.
I mean, Holtz is probably in that deal.
Yeah, and then you could hope to get a center somewhere else, maybe, or make it a 3-team
Probably,
trade and
yeah.
bring one in. I don't know, but there again, as much as we said, there's not a lot of suitors, not a lot of places you can send Mitch Marner. There aren't a ton of teams looking for a starting netminder. There's a handful of them, but
Wouldn't it be insanely funny to just be the Bruins and be like, fuck it, we're just going to build our forwards around 2 different right wingers and just trade Ullmark for Mitch Marner?
in a world
Like,
where that happened, I'd be
If
amazed.
you did Ullmark and Brandon Carlo, I bet you get Mitch Marner.
If you're the Leafs and you just got thwomped by the Bruins, who are your arch nemesis at this point, there's
And you take their
absolutely
backup goalie?
no fucking way in hell you trade Mitch Marner to that team. There's no way. I don't care if they're giving you everything on their roster. There is no way you make that happen. Unless you're getting, like, if you're getting Charlie McAvoy back, you consider it if you're the Leafs. But you
If you're
just
Boston, would you take Tavares?
No.
No?
No.
What if the Toronto says
for
we'll
Ullmark?
retain
For Ullmark?
half?
Yeah,
we'll
actually, I
retain
would.
half his salary, so it's 5.5 to you, and we still stuck with his $11 million contract, and we're just swapping expiring veterans.
Yeah, for Ullmark, I would.
I think, boy,
If I was Toronto, I wouldn't. If I was,
oh my God, if I was
Boston,
Toronto, I would do that tomorrow.
it would be
Linus
so funny.
Ullmark makes $5
It'd be
million.
so funny to see Tavares go to the Bruins
Tavares
and
makes
then
11. Yeah.
eliminate the Leafs in the playoffs and score like a hat trick in a Game 7. That would be hilarious.
I mean, yeah, that is 100% how that ends, I guess. That's a good point.
No,
I don't know, man. Tavares for Ullmark. That's a really good trade. I like that trade a lot.
If Tavares was anywhere other than Toronto, it would be a trade that would make a ton of sense. But
I mean, when was the last time Toronto trading with Boston didn't work out for them?
Man. It's every single goddamn time.
Because what was it? Rask who was in the Phil Kessel deal?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah. Yeah, man, I don't think there's no way they make any trades. With the history they have, there's no way.
God, that would rock.
Teams don't have the balls to do that.
Linus Hallmark for Anze Kopitar. Let's go.
Yeah, he's a key for life. Who's your Stanley Cup pick, man?
I'm going Florida, man. I need it to be Florida.
Yeah, you just need it for your boy, Matthew Tkachuk.
I do. Very
I'm going
much
the Rangers,
so.
Man. I picked the Rangers last year and they let me down, so I'm going
See,
Rangers.
I like the Rangers. If Lafreniere is actually good, man,
He's showing out, man.
boy, does that make a difference for them.
6 goals in the playoffs so far, I think. But he's got to be over 10 points now, I'd imagine. So he's doing good. And that's huge for them. Capo Caco's getting healthy scratched, but that's another
Matt
story.
Rempe's coming in instead, which isn't like you're getting healthy scratch. Sometimes that happens. Getting healthy scratch for Matt Rempe is not the best sign.
No. Matt Rempe in a playoff game is not a good sign.
Yeah.
A regular season game, it's like, maybe we just need somebody more physical for this game. Matt Rempe is going to
Capo
play.
might be available for a fucking 4th-round pick this summer.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting to that point, right? Like, it really, really is getting desperate times for Capo.
Don't have a pick in the 2nd or 3rd round this year.
Would you give up a 3rd-round pick for him?
I would give up the Pittsburgh pick for sure.
Yeah, I'd give up a 3rd-round pick for him.
But I would ask for
I don't think I'd give
the
up a
Minnesota
second.
pick back.
I don't think I'd give up a second right now, but I'd give up a
No,
3rd.
I'd give up a 3rd if they gave me another late round pick.
Yeah, 5th or a 6th-round pick back for him. Yeah, I would do it. I would do it for sure.
Mm-hmm,
Just take a flyer on him. Does he
Yeah, fuck it. Just see what happens.
He's an NHL player.
Yeah, clearly.
So I mean, that's
He's got some speed on him, which the bottom 6 for us needs. I don't.
Put him in a different situation. You hope things pan out. Defensively, he's shown he can do it. I don't think the numbers showed it this year, but last year defensively he got a lot better. So he's not like a liability per se. So I take a flyer. There's worse players that teams have taken a flyer on.
Hell, I'd trade for Matt Rempe this summer. Let's go.
He would be.
Bring me all the big boys.
No, the Rangers got rid of Ryan Reeves so Matt Rempe could walk. So. No, that's what we need to see is a Ryan Reeves Matt Rempe fight. That's what we need to see. We didn't see that yet, have we?
I don't think we got it. I think we were supposed to. Rempe Reeves. Let's see. No, we did.
Did we?
Yeah. March 2nd.
Shit.
Let's see. Oh, yeah. All right. Here we go. Oh, yeah, because this is when Rempe had the black eye, and I wanted Reeves to not fight him. Because I was like, I would love to see Reeves.
I remember that now, actually, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I wouldn't mind Reeves being a vet and being like, you don't need to do it, kid. But Reeves is fucking in Toronto where everybody brings him up as the reason the Leafs fucking suck.
Yeah.
Like, it's his fucking fault that the Leafs aren't good.
So what are we at? We're 24 days from the draft now?
I believe so.
It's the 20. Is it the 23rd and 24th or 24th and 25th? I don't remember. It's always around the same time. It's usually a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right?
I think it's a Thursday, Friday.
That'd be the 27th and 28th. That sounds about right. Actually, that sounds right. June 27th, June 28th, draft time. A couple days out from free agency, though.
Yeah. 2024 NHL draft. June 28th and 29th at the Sphere in Las Vegas.
Even later. It's a Friday, Saturday, 20th, 29th. Okay. We're 4 weeks out from draft day. 4 weeks out. I guess on Friday we'll be 4 weeks out. 3rd overall pick. Your ideal choice, again, for the 3rd overall pick.
I mean, I guess my ideal choice...
Anybody other than Macklin. So.
I mean, I'm fucking talking myself into Demidov, man.
Yeah. This is that best player available approach, man. Like, I do honestly believe I'm not a huge... Okay, so I'm not a huge fan of, like, the best player available thing because I think it's overly reductive.
Because, like, yeah, obviously, anytime you're picking up, you should be like, oh yeah, this is the best player we can get here. Like, why wouldn't that be the way you approach it? Honestly, I think at the top of the draft, when the players are expected to be better, you can draft for need. I I think for me, my pick has been Lev Shinov and Yakimchuk the entire time. I accept that the conventional wisdom around Yakimchuk is he should be available later in the draft and that maybe it would be considered a reach. Fine. Lev Shinov is really good. I think he has the potential, based on what I've read, to be a potential number one defenseman. I think drafting Lev Shinov is the most defensible pick you can make. I think that is the safest pick. I think when you're looking at potential upside, Demidov and Silyev are probably the two best picks.
Yep. No, I'm
Because
not, that's fair.
of what Silyev could mean, the difference in style from him. You know, because here's the other thing. Let's say you do get another right-handed defenseman and they turn out to be really good. Who doesn't want to play Silyev and Leno, apparently, like, potentially? Or Silyev and Zellweger, right? You don't even have to play him with Minchikov. You could play him with Zellweger. You could do a lot of different things. The potential is there. I think the safe pick is Levshinov. I think the most ambitious pick is Silyev. And I think the smartest pick is Demidov. Mm-hmm. Is that right? Does that sound right?
That sounds right. No, I agree.
I think that sounds right to me.
Yeah. You know
Where
what
are you at?
Well, for me, you know what the best pick is?
Hmm.
Keeping Erik ten Hag. That's the best pick.
Oh, why would you? Oh.
I just had to slip that one in there.
I was so nice and said he actually might not be as bad at his job as I think he is when I think about how bad that roster is. I said that to you the other day, being nice, building bridges. Mm-hmm. And you slam it in my face by bringing up that loser right now.
Yeah. And well, I also slandered pretty badly Tony Martial as well. So.
You didn't need to bring him into this, man.
No. You're right on the draft side of things. I had to slide Erik ten Hag into this conversation just a little bit, but
the balls on Erik ten Hag to be like, if they want to fire me, they can fire me. I'll go win trophies elsewhere. That's all I do. Shut the fuck up.
I honestly respect it, man.
That's how you know I don't like him. Is a quote that if Jose Mourinho gave, I would lose it. I would lose it in happiness. I cannot stand from him.
Yeah, you're just a hater of the man.
But you know, hey, Jose Mourinho's won multiple Champions Leagues and multiple league tables.
If you blind heard that reaction, just said, "Hey, a coach said this," you'd fucking love it.
I'd love it. I'd love it so much.
You'd love it.
But I refuse to endorse that man.
Oh man, what do you think? What do you think we find out sooner? A decision on Erik ten Hag or a decision on trading John Gibson?
Oh God, ten Hag for sure.
Yeah.
I wish it wasn't. That would be so funny.
Dude, those feel like the two biggest stories in our life right now.
I think here's the interesting question. Who gets traded first, Marner or Gibson?
Trick question at the same time.
Actually,
because John Gibson goes for Mitch.
here's the question I'm going to ask you.
Yeah.
Which do we find out first? What happens to John Gibson or Pep Guardiola's successor?
So that would mean John Gibson stays until next summer?
Maybe not. They could just say, this is the guy whose job it is next year.
No way. There's no way
United
did
that shit with fucking Moyes.
Yeah, because that was United, man. And like Sir Alex Ferguson wasn't going on to another job. Pep's going to probably back to Barcelona after Hansi Flick fails, or he's going somewhere, man. He's gonna go manage somewhere. He's gonna go
Inter Miami.
No, he's not. I don't think he's done. He's not that old, man. He'll take like 2 years off, wait for some super team that he hasn't managed before to need a manager.
It's got to be Italy, right? Like Juventus.
He can't go back to Spain unless it's Barcelona. He's not going to Real Madrid. He can't go anywhere else in the Premier League because he's done so much success with City.
Right.
He can't. You're not going to go anywhere you're not going to go back to Germany and manage Bayern. You're not going to go to any other German team.
Well, Bayern just gave it to Vincent Kompany, so that's definitely not going to happen.
Yeah, you like Vincent Kompany's going to be there next summer. Come on.
I mean, what, are they going to have Pep Guardiola be the PSG coach?
That could honestly
Is it
be
PSG and Juve? Are those the only two?
Yes, because Inter Milan. The only reason I don't think he goes to Italy is because their teams are so broke that I just I can't. I think it could be PSG, but I could see him being a little scared of that job because nobody will care about them winning 10 league titles in a row. They won't. It will be he has to win PSG the Champions League.
Yeah, but that's why you take it. Is I'm going to be the guy to win Champions League.
That's a ballsy move to take.
It's 100% ballsy. I'm not saying it's not, especially after
I would love
leaves.
it for him because I kind of would like to see him fail at it. So I could, but like if he does it, if he goes to PSG and wins them the Champions League, he's best manager of all time.
He's at the yeah. He has
right now it's Sir Alex and then him, and he's. The only knock on him is he hasn't kind of done something that nobody expected. He's gone to super teams and he's won it all at those super teams.
I guess you would say he took Man City to a level that people didn't think their money could get them to.
I guess, but everybody knew it was inevitably going to happen. Like I'm not saying he didn't help, he did. But City won a league without him, and they were trending in that direction, and then they just became a superpower because he came in and added to it. So I mean, like early days, what Sir Alex did for United, obviously he got financial backing, what he did with Aberdeen, that type of thing. Like a Jose Mourinho and Porto and Inter Milan type scenario, right, where he kind of took this team that nobody expected to do anything with and won leagues and Champions Leagues with, right? So
can Pep Guardiola live up to the legacy of Manuel Pellegrini?
But like the thing is Pep's kind of shoehorned himself to he can't go anywhere else. There's really not too many options.
He's got to do a reverse Ted Lasso and come and coach the Raiders.
Like, yeah, I can't see him going to a team in Italy. I just can't see him coaching in Italy. But then,
Boca Juniors announced today their new head coach Pep Guardiola.
You know what? He might retire. Unless, so the options for me are he goes back to Barcelona somehow, right? Like, regardless of how well Hansi Flick did, I think he takes a year off after City. So he goes next year,
Here's
does
the
his
question.
thing with City, takes a year off, goes back to Barcelona. That's probably my option one. And
Here's
tries
my
to
question.
win at Barcelona.
Which is more impressive, genuinely, if he did it? Winning Champions League with PSG or winning the World Cup with the States?
No, he'd go to win the World Cup with the States, 100%.
Would be the most impressive thing he could do.
100%. It would be the most impressive thing because then he's dragging a team that doesn't deserve to win into it. But
because here's the perfect plan.
You think he'd go into international management? Do you think he would?
He retired. He retires, quote unquote, after next year, and he just waits for some stupid golden generation for some country that's never won a World Cup, and he just comes out of retirement like fucking Yoda and just fucking takes them to a World Cup. He takes like 2 cycles.
Oh man, yeah, he takes.
How insane would that be? Like, the United States won 3 consecutive CONCACAF titles and made the quarters in the World Cup.
Then Pep comes along and brings him to the next level. Yeah, I would be. I didn't even think about it. Maybe international management's the next step for him. But it's either returning to Barcelona, maybe he goes to Italy. But I don't know. Juventus would probably be the one, like you said. Goes to try and win PSG the Champions League, or goes into international management somewhere. Goes to manage England or manage.
Maybe he'll go
Spain
play in the Saudi League.
Yeah, that's come out of retirement.
You can go play with Jordan Henderson.
Fuck, man. Hendo moved, eh? He's playing for Ajax now. Like, he moved out of the Saudi League.
Bro, he got so scared.
He went there.
He got so scared.
Played until the January window.
Because he did not make much money when he was there. They, did not give him his whole salary. It's like a whole thing.
He went to go play for Gerrard. And then it backfired, and he got out of the England squad. He's like, "Oh, I didn't think this would happen. Moving to the Saudi league, I thought I'd still have a place in the England squad." He's like, "Well, now I gotta leave, so I'm gonna go to Ajax, and maybe then I'll get into the England squad." And then Ajax was shit. They finished like fourth or something, and they're used to just coasting to the league title. Like Feyenoord won, and PSV was like undefeated for half the season. So they were shit. So he rightfully lost his spot finally in the England squad. I thought Gareth Southgate was still gonna call him up like an idiot, but there's your future United manager right there, Gareth fucking Southgate. So
Jesus. Well, I'm gonna cry now.
After he wins England the Euros, right? That's what everybody's saying. So.
Well, hey, I mean, look, if you as England have a chance to win the thing that Cristiano Ronaldo won.
Is England the Toronto Maple Leafs? They have a roster that should get it done, and they just can't.
Boy.
Are they?
When you think about the pump... Wow, Edward. Does that make Brazil the Habs?
Yeah, we're good and not anymore.
But,
Yeah,
we're good recently? Like, within a lifetime recently?
Yeah.
Because you've got, the 93
so
Cup
they were good in the 70s
2000...
and 80s, and then they were bad for a little bit, and then they had a new generation come along, and they were a little bit good. They started, kicked it around, and then they get hammered by somebody. They got hammered 7-1 by Germany, and then they're shit again. So,
wow, yeah.
And now they're rebuilding again. Yeah, they could be it. But England is 100% the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, I think you're right.
One of the better rosters in the league, some of the best young players in the world, and it comes to key games they can't win.
Bro, does this make John Tavares Harry Kane? Because if so, I'm so happy right now.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
That rocks.
Yes, it does.
Oh my god. Everybody loved this dude for this success that he had with this semi-woebegone franchise. And then he moved and it's fucking shit and it's all his fault.
Is Mitch Marner.
Great.
So although he's not playing for England this year.
God.
Yeah, that's some good shit, man. But
does that make Matt Sundin Wayne Rooney?
Yeah. Ken, sure.
Same haircut.
Yep. I haven't seen Sundin in retirement, so maybe he's got a beard and put on a good 50 pounds, so could be similar. We'll end it off here. I asked you and Chris this the other day who you're supporting in the Euros, and you dodged my question.
I don't even remember seeing it.
No, I asked you on mic in person.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. Because
do you have no,
because
relatives or anything where you're from? No.
I mean, there's a couple, but the truth of it is I always rooted for France, but the whole reason I rooted for France is because of Martial and Pogba, and Martial's never gonna make the French squad again, and Paul Pogba's on fucking steroids apparently.
He's banned for 10 years.
Yeah, so, jeez, who would be? I don't even know if I know. Well, I guess I can root for Belgium.
Yeah, you hope their golden generation finally gets it done.
Boy, you want to talk about some disappointment. Are they who is Belgium? It's upstart that never... Are they the Senators?
Are they us? Are they our 2010s Ducks?
No, because... Yeah, no, don't like that.
Are they the Preds?
I think they're the Preds. I think that's right. I think it's the Predators.
Yeah. That's fair.
Because
the one team that should have got it done and had all the potential to get it done and made it decently far, but never won it all. They're the Preds.
Fucking Hazard and Lukaku and Benteke.
Vertonghen, Alderweireld, Courtois.
Oh my god, dude, yeah. Yeah, they're the Preds. Oh man. That's
Okay.
brutal.
We're gonna break it down this way, and we're gonna find out who you're supporting. I'm gonna name. We're gonna go through the groups. You're gonna pick one team from each group, and then we're gonna narrow it down. Okay.
All right, first one.
Okay. Group A is Germany, Scotland, Hungary, Switzerland.
Oh, I'll root for Scotland.
Okay. Group B is Spain, Croatia, Italy, Albania.
Spain, Croatia, Italy, Albania.
Yep.
I'll go Italy.
Oh, hold on.
It's a real chalky answer, but well, I guess
Yeah.
chalk would be Spain, but fuck them.
Group C is Slovenia, Denmark, Serbia, England.
I mean, I'll go with Denmark because England's an easy answer.
Boy, Rasmus Højlund. Group D is Poland, Netherlands, Austria, France.
I will go with the Netherlands.
Group E is Belgium, Slovakia, Romania, Ukraine. If they don't make it out of that group, oh my.
Jeez Louise. Yeah, I mean, it's Belgium.
Yeah. Group F is Turkey, Georgia, Portugal, Czech Republic. Or Czechia, sorry.
Yeah, I'll go Czechia.
Okay, so Scotland or Italy?
Scotland.
Denmark or the Netherlands?
Ooh, I'll take the Netherlands there.
Belgium or Czechia?
I'll take Czechia.
Okay, so Scotland or you said the Netherlands, right?
Yeah.
Scotland or the Netherlands?
I think I have to go with Scotland. I think the answer is Scotland because we get McTominay.
Okay, and
Fucking R9 McTominay.
Belgium or Czechia?
I will go with Czechia. And then
So
Czechia and
then
Scotland.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Scotland. I think we're going
Alright.
Scotland.
Scotland is it? That's who you're going for?
Yeah, in honor of the old lady who was interviewed on the day of Margaret Thatcher's funeral, and they asked her what she would do, and she said, I'd bury her with a rope of garlic around her neck and her stake through her heart to make sure she never comes back. Which is so fucking cool. Yeah, dude, we're going for Scotland. That woman rocked. And they told that lady, how that's a terrible thing to say. Like, on television, they were like, that's a terrible thing to say during someone's funeral. And she's like, I don't give a shit. Fuck her. Yeah, we're going Scotland. Because
I
there's,
respect it.
like, is there a world in which, like, Scott McTominay doesn't win, like, player of the fucking
Golden Boot, man.
tournament?
Golden Boot.
Like, I can't.
He's gonna score like 10 goals.
That would rock, dude. He's so. Oh, it's so funny we're talking about this. I wanted to talk about this. We were talking about the United 11, and I was saying how I can't tell you anything that McTominay does that he's good at, but I can tell you everything he's going to do when he's playing.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, he's fucking Derek Grant.
Yeah, he is Derek Grant. He can play a few different positions.
I have no idea what he's good at. I can't tell you anything he's actually good at. I can show you significant video evidence of all the things he's bad at.
Yeah.
And I can also tell you exactly what is going to happen when he is out there, and that's why coaches love him.
Yeah.
Because if nothing else, there is certainty.
That's fair. That's amazing. He is Derek Grant. Which
Yep.
God damn. Makes me want to get rid of him now.
That is fucking my perfect vengeance for your
plays a
10 egg
little
shit.
bit plays a little bit more than he should in positions he probably shouldn't.
Yep.
Yeah, he's
Mhm.
this guy's
Does
played,
just
this
enough
guy's
to
played,
justify it.
This guy has played center back, CDM, in the 10, and at striker. It's gonna rock up next year. Onana's gonna get hurt and he's gonna go in net just because he's fucking 6'4".
Yeah, fucking Nicky Butt.
Oh my god, that sucks.
That's so funny.
That sucks.
God, that rocks. I'm so happy I ruined your night.
All right. Well, anything
Yeah.
else? You got anything else?
Not really. We're going to get to the idea Chad sent me. I want to get to it, where we draft players who we think the Ducks will draft with our picks. and then we see who has the most right.
Okay, so like we do like almost a mock, but just who we think the Ducks will take, regardless
Basically,
of
yeah,
the
we're
other
going to
teams.
create like draft pools and see how many we get right.
Okay, no, I'm down for that.
So maybe we pick like 2 or 3 names at each of the first handful of picks.
Well, I think we should for 3 we pick 1, and then from there on out we can do 2 or 3 per pick. Because at 3, like I think there's only a handful of guys. So we got to nail it dead on. I think.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
I'd say maybe pick 2 guys at 3.
Maybe
I think
2.
you can't pick 3 at 3.
Okay, I'm down with 2. And then we can do
from
3
there on
for...
out. I think you can do 3.
So we'll do 2 for both of the first rounds, and then 3 for the second and third rounds.
Yep.
And then
Why
we'll
don't
just be done.
why don't because the next thing we do is probably going to be a bit more of an in-depth draft preview where we look at that later first and second and third round picks.
So then
why
that
don't-
sounds like the way we do it.
yeah, we can do it that way, and then instead of looking at it, we'll just break down why we take those guys at that pick, and that will give us a little bit of insight of a bunch of different guys at each of the. I think we'll just do probably the first 3 rounds.
Yeah. That's
And,
6
yeah.
picks.
And break it down from there. Yeah, I'm down. Yeah, that'll be there. You go, live on the
Sick.
show. We
All
have
right.
our idea for the next show.
As they say on the Shutdown Podcast, welcome to our production meeting.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that was. Oh no, this was not our first show in a while. This was our 10th show that you 10th show in the last month.
It's fucking almost 3 a.m. for Eddy.
Yes, it's getting early. I'm
No,
pledging.
wait, almost what? 2 a.m.?
It's
almost 1 a.m.
12:45.
I can't do math.
I pledge to never sleep until I find out if Erik Ten Hag is staying at Manchester United, and then so I will be up for the next week.
Yeah,
until I find out the news.
if you're only up for the next week, it'll be a miracle.
Yeah, we won't find out. I'm honestly kind of glad that in hockey you don't have to deal with some of these issues.
Mm-hmm.
Makes the off season much more enjoyable, calm.
Well, again, there's more to like. There's only so much that can happen.
Yeah.
It just makes it easier.
Yeah.
Actually, real quick, I want to do this now since we're talking about coaches. What do you make of all this shit about people are firing coaches too often? And all like Peter fucking DeBoer, who keeps getting fired for being bad at his job, being like, yeah, it's weird. They keep talking about how new hockey's about relationships, and then they don't give you time to build relationships.
I don't know. I think in every sport we're getting to this, like, you need to have success in 1 or 2 seasons, and if you don't, then you're out. I feel like that's just where we're at in any sport, right? Like, you've got 1, maybe 2 seasons to have success, and if you don't, and especially in that second season, if you regress, you're gone. I just feel like that's the nature of things now. You're just not given a lot of time, and I don't think it's necessarily unfair. That's just how sports are now. People demand success instantly. They demand you turn things around or change things up or show some improvement. And I guess, you know what, like that, it's not like that isn't the case everywhere else. I can't go into my job, do well first year, do bad the second year, and expect to still be there. So you have to have continued success. I do think there is a little bit of urgency for it to happen sooner rather than later. And when it doesn't, ownership gets antsy and wants to make a move and hopes that change, because they've seen it happen, right? They've seen St. Louis bring Craig Berube in and go on a run for a Stanley Cup after playing like shit. Like, they've seen it happen, where I think everybody's so quick to pull the trigger because they expect that that's what's going to change things, because they don't have much control beyond that, right? You can't shake up the roster enough that it's going to make a huge difference. Like, the only big move you have left in your pocket as an owner and as management is to fire the coach and hope that bringing in a new coach changes things. The problem is, more often than not, it doesn't. The problems still exist because problems are underlying and not the coach that you bring in. And we've seen that case by case in every sport. Sometimes it works, sometimes it is the manager, sometimes you bring in another face, another idea of thinking, another way of thinking, new ideas, and it does change things. And it was the coach, and things work out. But yeah, like I said, more often than not, it's not that, and the issues were underlying, and you could see that. I mean, we're talking about Manchester United a lot. You can see that the managers that they've gone through and things have changed, right? So it.
Jeff Blashill was a head coach for 7 fucking years.
In Detroit, right?
Yeah, like I don't know, man. I'm not buying this shit. I'm really not. Like, how many of this is just circumstantial? Like, I feel like there's a handful of teams that fired coaches on a regular basis. Dude, even the fucking Leafs. Sheldon Keefe had like 4 or 5 years. People want Mike Sullivan.
I think his
on,
is fair,
like,
man. I think
I'm not
Keith's
saying
is
it's
fair
not
because
fair.
he got
What
the
I'm
team,
saying
built
is-
them up, got them to a point where they're better, but then he couldn't take them to the next step. And
I'm
he
not
got
saying
let
it's
go because of
unfair.
that. Yeah.
I'm not saying it's unfair. I am saying I think the idea that this is like a crisis is being significantly overblown.
Yeah, no, it's not
It
a
feels
crisis.
very ridiculous to me.
Because I wouldn't put Sheldon Keefe in that category. If he had 4 or 5 years with the Leafs, he had a lot more of a runway. I think you should at least get 2 or 3 years to now, depending on the situation. If you're a team that is looking to win a cup, a trophy, a league, a championship, a Stanley Cup, whatever it is, if that's the expectations when you get in there, and you don't do that, and you miss the playoffs in your first season, you're out the door. Or if in back-to-back seasons you regress from where that, then I understand going out the door there. If your goal, if you come into a rebuilding team, you do make some improvement season after season after season, then you get to a point where you get to the playoffs, you lose in the first round, you lose in the first round, you lose in the first round. Okay, now you should go because you've hit a plateau, right? Like, once you hit that plateau, I think it's okay to let them go. I don't think we're in an issue, the crisis, pandemic, whatever you want to call it, where we're firing coaches too soon. There are cases where, yes, that can be the case, but I think more often than not, especially in hockey, they are getting a fair shot. I think they are, and if you're not making progress, then you're out the door. And you've got 1 or 2 seasons to do that, man. You got 1 or 2 seasons to show that. And if it's a shocking enough season that apart from whatever was achieved the season before, I think it's fair to say you're in a good spot to lose your job.
Dude, Travis Heaney had 4.5 fucking seasons. Like,
and he couldn't get
4.25.
He couldn't get Vancouver over the hump.
Right. Like, I'm just
4.5 seasons is a
like,
lot of time to be able to change things around. He couldn't do it.
Jared Bednar has been the head coach since 16-17. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
And
It
I'll
feels
be
like
honest
a
with you,
whole bunch of
Jared
bullshit.
Bednar has bought himself some leeway winning a Stanley Cup, but
But he didn't win a Stanley Cup until a couple years ago.
No, I know, but if Colorado crashes out next year, crashes out another year, he'll be on the hot seat too, man. Because that's just how things are. If you regress and you can't keep things going, success will buy you time. And I think the thing with Bednar is he did improve year after year after year until they got to that point where they won a Stanley Cup. They got better and better. They built up the team. There wasn't years of up and down, up and down, up and down. There was like a steady path of improvement. And that's what can keep a coach or a manager there, is if there is signs of improvement, there'll be some little dips in form and whatever, here or there. But, I mean, like, for me in hockey, it's a lot easier for you to have incremental improvement. Because if you make the playoffs, nobody cares if you made the playoffs in 5th or if you made the playoffs in 8th or you made the playoffs in 2nd. You made the playoffs, right? Like, it's about just kind of making it. League position really doesn't matter in North American sports, really. Like, it does and it doesn't. Like, when you're looking at the grand scheme of success, as long as you made the playoffs, a lot of times that's what people care about.
Like, how
then
many
your
years do you
success
think
in the
Craig
playoffs.
Berube was the head coach in St. Louis?
4?
Let's just say full seasons.
4?
4 full seasons. But he had 38 plus 6 is 44. Over 60 games. He coached over 60 games the year they won the Cup. And he coached 28 games this year. Like, that's fucking 5 years, dude. What do you want? Like, players' primes are 4 to 6 years. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he had down years after the Cups. They lost players, and they gave him some leeway from the success, and then it kept going down, and they felt like that's it. We need to stop this before it keeps going down. And the only way you can do that is firing the coach. There's no other way to do that.
and like everybody's like, you could point maybe to the fucking Sabres, but they had Lindy Ruff for like 15 fucking years,
Mm-hmm.
and then they just hired him again.
Yeah, I think in hockey.
Sorry,
less
man.
so than, no, I get it. I think in hockey less.
With this
Are people
fucking
really
narrative.
saying is that a narrative for hockey?
Yeah, dude, it really is.
That's bad. Yeah, it's. I don't think
That's
it's a problem. I think
wild to me.
it's a problem.
Dallas Aikens had 4 fucking years.
I think it's really becoming a problem in soccer, for sure, in high-level soccer. It's becoming an issue more than any other sport, but I don't think it's an issue in hockey. I think the NBA maybe more than hockey, but even then, I don't think it's a significant issue. I think it's you could point to maybe a bit more evidence. I don't think it's an issue in football. I don't know enough about football to really say for sure, but from what I've seen, I don't think it's a major issue. So there's just a lot more time given to develop there and a lot more onus put on players. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think I think it's not an issue in hockey.